Monday. So good. Hello, upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. We're back.
Did you just bring out some mamas and papas?
Always, man. I'm just California dreaming. You know what I mean? To every season, turn.
And everyone's getting fat except Mama Cass. Anyway.
Oh, what is up, guys? It is good to be back. I am Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo, on the other side of the glass, both literally and metaphorically. It's the Rob Brown Show, back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Put it on all your digital devices, and don't miss a minute of our local broadcasting right here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. It is spectacular to be back with you again, ladies and gentlemen, after a tremendous sports. I got to tell you, we had the Army-Navy game on Saturday, but outside of that, first weekend in a minute that we didn't have college football, and yet turned out to be a pretty solid sports weekend nonetheless. New York City FC wins the MLS Cup this weekend. Max Verstappen wins the F1 season championship by way of overtaking Lewis Hamilton on the final and very controversial lap of the Grand Prix, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He ends up becoming your F1 champion. And I don't know how many of y'all knew this, but congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, are in order to the Clemson Tigers, Lonzo, because the Clemson Tiger men's soccer team became your 2021 NCAA national champions in men's football. We had the Seminole of Florida State women's team win last weekend. This weekend, the Clemson Tigers ensure that the soccer national championship on both sides, a clean sweep for the Atlantic Coast Conference, as Clemson brings home the championship, knocking over. I've just been corrected by my own mother, Lonzo. Turn was the Birds with a Y. That was a critical mistake on the part of Rob Brown.
It was, and I should have caught that. I should have, but I just wanted to do the Mama Cass line so bad that I
were overlooking the mistake.
I breezed past that
to get your own glory.
Trust
me, I understand.
Still my favorite lyric in any of their songs.
Clemson wins the national championship in soccer this weekend by way of defeating Washington 2-0 on Sunday afternoon in a fantastic showing for the Purple and Orange soccer team. Very, very entertaining game and a good football team. I got to tell you, this area is prime real estate for football fans. And by football, I mean soccer. Prime real estate for fans of the footy. And I'll tell you how I know that here in just a minute when we start, Lonzo, the lunch breakdown.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Texter says, see, Rob, Clemson football isn't dead. Golf clap to you, sir. Text line's open. Ingles Market text line's open at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. Clemson are your 2021 NCAA soccer national champions on the men's side after a rousing 2-1 defeat of the Washington Huskies yesterday afternoon. Junior forward Isaiah Reed scored a goal 27 seconds into the College Cup final, and it proved decisive as the Tigers upended the Huskies 2-0. The victory marked the Tigers' third national championship. They had a pair back in the 80s, 84 and 87, a pair of years that the Tigers won the soccer national championship under head coach Mike Noonan. Several thousand Clemson fans made the just shy of 4-hour trek to Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina, and counted down the final 10 seconds as the club started pouring out onto the field. Clemson knocked off the number 1, number 2, number 4, and number 9 overall seeds on their tournament run. The title, the 7th team national championship in Clemson athletics history, joining 3 in football, 81, 16, and 18, 1 in men's golf in 2003. You add in the other 2 in soccer, that brings you to 7. Clemson, the only program in the country with 3 or more national championship in both men's soccer and football. Isaiah Reed, a native of Rock Hill, South Carolina, was named the College Cup offensive most outstanding player, scored both Clemson goals in helping the Tigers to a historic 2-0 victory. Congratulations to the Tigers of Clemson. By the way, Texter says, Rob, are you sick? Your voice sounds scratchy today. No, Rob went to a hockey game yesterday, and also had did a little singing and screaming this weekend. So negative. I am not sick. I just forgot that I talk for a living and should not do those things.
Yeah, you got a touch of the AC/DC voice there. I was going to ask you about that. Did you bust out some AC/DC this weekend?
Perchance may have been some guitars and drums involved. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So anyway. Yeah, it's what happens when you forget that you have to have a voice for a living and then just destroy it over the weekend. Sorry.
You rest that thing up. We're going to need that by the end of the week. Yeah.
Doing my best. Now we stick with item number 1. Part of item number 1 was Clemson winning the soccer national championship. Number 2, New York City FC are your MLS champions this year. They knock off the Portland Timbers in a very dramatic game. NYCFC had taken a 1-0 lead in the first half of the match, and it stayed that way until the very end of stoppage time. 2021 Golden Boot winner Valentin Castellanos scored his side's only goal of the game, and it looked like it would be the game winner for much of the contest. But then, with the last kick of the regular 90, Felipe Mora was able to net one after a controversial non-penalty call inside the box. A bounce would go in, and we would be all level at 1-1. No goals found in stoppage time, so to the PKs we went, and the PKs would be enough. In front of the Timbers home crowd, NYCFC goes on the road and comes home with the MLS championship. I'm waiting to see what the TV ratings are for that. Why? Because of the next part of item number 3. A study has come out that has talked to a few thousand sports fans around the United States. And this study has found that soccer has now overtaken hockey as the 4th favorite sport of Americans inside the Big Five. The Big Five, of course, being football, American football, basketball, hockey, soccer, and baseball. Those are the Big Five. Football, that being the kind with actual foot and ball, is escalating and is now preferred as a recreational and enjoyable event, more so than the ice hockey, according to a survey done by SportsMail. According to SportsMail, soccer is now the 4th most enjoyed sport in the United States. It sits behind baseball, basketball, and American football. And while the gap to American football remains large, now the survey itself simply asked, do you like to watch this sport? All right. They talked to a couple thousand sports fans around the United States, and they simply asked them to tick a box. Do you enjoy this sport? American football. What percentage of American sports fans, Lonzo, said they enjoy American football?
85%.
You're close, but not that close. 70%, meaning that there is an ever-widening group of American sports fans who love sports but are not turned on by American football. Basketball.
Okay, so this poll obviously bogus because there's no way that it's only 70%. I want to know, where was this poll given? Was it sent out electronically? Did people go door to door? Did they accost people on the street corners in big cities? Where did the poll go out to?
I am working on finding the source of the poll. This article comes from the Daily Mail. And in fairness, for the sake of putting all biases out in the open.
Yeah, where's that printed
the
at?
Daily Mail is based out of England. It is a UK newspaper. So obviously they're going to be a little biased towards football. Does not mean that their bias is inherent in the survey. And I am trying to find the actual, what do they call it? The actual, what's it called?
You keep doing the score thing.
It's VAR. Anyway, the actual report of the survey, so I can get the details behind it. Anyway, according to Sportsmail, in a survey of U.S. sports fans, soccer is now more popular than ice hockey in the U.S. Study conducted by the research firm Ampere Analysis, 49% of U.S. sports fans claim to like watching soccer on TV ahead of ice hockey at 37%. They also say that the proportion of U.S. fans who say they enjoy watching the English Premier League in particular has grown from 12 to 15% within the last year and a half. At the same time, the percentage of fans that say they would be willing to to pay to watch sports has changed as well. So according to this survey, American football remains the most popular sport enjoyed by 70% of sports fans. Basketball is second at 61%. Baseball is third at 57%. Soccer fourth at 49%. Way back at a distant fifth is ice hockey. And at the current rate of growth, if this survey was conducted 5 years from now, soccer will overtake baseball as the sport that the largest percentage of fans actually enjoy watching on TV. When it came to how many would pay a fee in order to be able to watch the sports, these numbers were a little shocking to me. Lonzo, NFL, 26% of NFL fans, 1 in 4, said if the NFL went subscription-based, they would pay to keep watching the NFL. 1 in 4 NFL fans said that they would pay to watch the NFL if it was required. 18%.
Man, I hope they don't have this data because they don't need to know about this.
I know, right? 26% of NFL fans, 18% of NBA fans say they would pay to watch it. 13% of Major League Baseball fans say they would pay. 9% of college football fans said that they would pay to watch the sport. Sports fans, 9% said they would pay to watch English Premier League. 8% for college basketball, 7% for the World Cup and the Champions League. 6% said they would pay for an NHL subscription, and 6% say they would pay for La Liga. Now, this is of all the fans surveyed. So not 26% of NFL fans, but 26% of the sports fans who responded to this. So 70% of American sports fans prefer football over American football over everything else. 1 in 4 sports fans said that they would pay to watch the NFL if that's what it came down to.
I'm trying to figure out why you would rather watch some guy get tripped or pretend to be tripped and flop when you can watch some guy's face get pressed into the glass at high speed. How could you pick soccer over hockey? I don't get that.
Oh, I got lots of ways, and it's a good thing that this article is going to become another segment later on in the show because we can absolutely break it down. And I'm a hockey guy. I was at a hockey game yesterday. I was at a Swamp Rabbits game yesterday. I'm a hockey fan, but it is what it is. All right. I also have I'm glad this texter sent this. Come on, Rob. This is prime amateur wrestling season. No love or attention to upstate high school and middle school wrestling. I'll tell you why that kind of stuff doesn't make the radio later in the show. It's not a truth you want to hear, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Texas says, I'd rather get punched in my marbles by Mike Tyson than watch a game of soccer. Well, that's dramatic. Okay.
Whatever you're into. If given
What's
those
it called, kink shaming? I think I'm not.
Wait.
That's a very different thing. Don't look it up.
Okay, I'm not going to, and I didn't want to know.
I'm watching soccer.
I'm-
A lot of it. I'll be a real big fan. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. I'm just going to hand this over to Lonzo. Ladies and gentlemen, the mighty have fallen. Amanda Nunes eats a loss in a big way on Saturday night. A shocking upset. She was like a plus 700 favorite on the money line going into that fight this weekend. And she doesn't walk out of the octagon. She got hit hard and early, Lonzo, and never looked to be herself after that.
All right, so Juliana Pena in the first round got knocked down a couple of times, and you think, okay, this is more of the same. Nunes is going to take care of business. Coming to the second round, and then Pena punched her in the face, and she just had this a brief. What was that? And the same look was on Pena's face was, hey, I can punch her in the face. And so she decided to continue to punch her in the face to the point where she went down and then she submitted her. And it's one of those things when you're watching this, when someone's been crowned the greatest of all time and can never be beaten. And even you and I, when we were talking in Fight Club last week, I said it would be better for the sport if she retired because it's boring that no one can beat her. And I believe you were the one that brought up Ronda Rousey, and it was the same sort of situation with her. And then she got beat by Holly Holm, and now we've seen Nunes go down to Juliana Pena, and there were high fives on the couch. That's all I got to say. It was a great moment. And why do I not like Nunes? It's just her attitude. Just for some reason, I don't like her. And you know what? You pick sides when you watch fighters and go, I like this person or I don't like this person. I don't like her. But it's not a case of me wanting to see someone knocked off their perch. It's just awesome to see someone catch her and defeat her.
Big time upsets.
Yes.
Fun. You know who the last.
Hey, I saw when it's the same sort of feeling. I just now realized that. I was in a room full of people when Tyson goes down, this look of shock, and then like, yeah, that was an amazing thing to see. Same sort of thing.
This is the largest victory by an underdog. You know who number one or who the last number one was? Got to guess. What was the last fight with odds this long where the underdog won?
Probably the fight I just mentioned, maybe?
Nope.
No.
The last fight with an underdog with odds this long who won the fight outright was Holly Holm over Ronda Rousey.
All right.
Yep. Holm.
See, I would have thought Buster Douglas defeating
No, I was going
Tyson
MMA,
was.
sorry.
Well, okay, just in MMA.
In MMA, it was Holly Holm knocking out Ronda Rousey, which I watched at the Boathouse Bar in Destin, Florida. I remember that fight because your boy was that's what I think I've only purchased one MMA fighter t-shirt, and it wasn't even. It was Ronda Rousey's. That's the only one I've ever. I loved Ronda. I remember watching that fight that night and being shocked. I was just as shocked to watch Nunes go down.
By the way, that card overall was very, very good, and glad that we purchased it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Poirier later too. What a fight that was.
Just to witness history happen.
Finally, item number 3 in the lunch breakdown. We won't spend as much time on this now, but we will talk about the ramifications of it later. After a sensational season capped off with an SEC title, Alabama quarterback Bryce Young is your 2021 Heisman Trophy winner. He outpaced Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud, Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett, and Michigan defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, the other 3 finalists that were in New York. He becomes the first quarterback out of the University of Alabama to win the award. The sophomore thanked his parents and teared up, all smiles around him in the audience, and gave a shout out to his offensive line and defense, saying the Heisman Trophy is a team award, end quote. He went on to say, for me, I've always been someone who's been labeled as not the prototype. Being a black quarterback and being undersized and not being that prototype, I've always been ruled out and kind of doubted. People a lot of times have told me I wasn't going to be able to make it. And for me, it's always been about not really proving them wrong, but proving to myself what I can accomplish. I always push myself to work the hardest, and I try my best to do all I can to maximize all I can do. Thanks to people around me and through the grace of God, I've been able to make it here, end quote. The Alabama quarterback, how about this, Lonzo, had more than 8 times as many first place votes as the second place finalist, which ended up being Aiden Hutchinson. 8 times more votes than second place. That's redonk.
Well, and it's through this entire season, it was hard figuring out who the front runner was. And when they just, a lot of times, I mean, there have been times when the Heisman's been decided back in, September. And in this case, we didn't know. And they just had to fill out the roster with other guys. And I get why he won. Are the other guys on his level?
Are the other guys on his level? I mean, statistically, neither of the other quarterbacks was. And Aiden Hutchinson was a damn good guy, a damn good defensive end, but he ended with what? I think 14 sacks. Do 14 sacks in 13 games stack up with 4,300 plus passing yards?
And they have to invite a number of people. They can't just say, come and get your trophy. They've got to throw some guys in there. And this is one of the cases where I think they just had to throw some guys in there. And I'm not short selling those other guys, but I'm not surprised the vote was that big.
All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307, 71307. Yesterday, I was at the Swamp Rabbits game, and I got the opportunity to meet a couple of guys who listened to the show. They saw me walking down the hallway and said hello. And we got into a conversation very briefly about how I pick what goes on the air and what doesn't. And this compounded with a conversation that I had with somebody on Twitter the other day about why we don't talk more about certain sports. I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit, and it's going to be a truth that some of you guys don't want to hear, but have to anyway. Tell you what that is next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. All right, stream. Hello to everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Steven, welcome in. Good to see you guys. It's Monday. I hope the chat is popping today so that my job is easier.
why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley. Weekends at the Well are back for Furman University basketball. Bonsecourt Wellness Arena in downtown Greenville is to cite 4 games over 3 different dates, and tickets are available now at FurmanPowellets.com. Mark your calendars for January the 8th, February 5th, and February 19th. 4-game packs starting at just $40. Individual game tickets are on sale. All the information at FurmanPowellets.com. It's weekends at the Well. Furman basketball returning to downtown Greenville.
I'm using the force. I don't even have to see you. Oh, man. Very personal hot take. I don't like the playoff games being on New Year's Eve. They should both be on New Year's Day.
I agree. I completely agree. Does this bother you because it interferes with your plans for
Correct.
New Year's Eve?
That's 100% why.
But as someone who doesn't ever go anywhere and do anything on New Year's Eve, now I got something to do on
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, I guess.
As someone who goes somewhere and does everything every New Year's Eve, it gets in the way of my, because the second game kicks at 7:30. Is it 7:30 Eastern or 8:30 Eastern?
No. Oh, no, it's music. Music. Where's the music?
$7:30, which means that game's ending at 10:30 or later, which gives me an hour to celebrate.
Oh, come on. The party don't get started till the ball drops, right?
Party don't start till I walk in. No, the party starts about 7 p.m. for me.
Well, in this case, this means at midnight, more people will be alert and aware of what's going on as opposed to getting started early and being out of it by the time the ball drops.
No. I walked into the theater last night. I got done with the hockey game and thought, it's only 5 o'clock. I should go see a movie.
So that's legitimate. That was
No.
not. It was
I
okay.
walked in and I went to the little, because I went to the Cherrydale Camelot, and they got the little ticket kiosk at the front where you can get your ticket instead of having to get it from the concession stand. So I punch in Spider-Man, and it's like available Thursday. I was like, dang, they're sold out through Thursday. So I'm like, well, I only need 1 ticket. Let me go talk to the concession stand guy. And I walk up and I said, can I get one for 7 o'clock Spider-Man? And he goes, yeah, what night? And I was like, tonight? And he looks like really confused, and he like looks at his computer and pushes some buttons, and then he looks back at me. And then the little girl walks over, and she's like, it comes out Thursday. And I was like, yeah, it's Sunday. And she's like, no, it comes out next Thursday. And I was like, have a lovely evening, guys. And I just turned and walked out. I felt like a clown. I don't know why it was in my head that it dropped this weekend.
You can blame me, and maybe because I told you I already had tickets.
It may have been.
But I bought them a couple of
Yeah.
weeks in advance because it was selling out already. So I'm more than willing to take the blame because, it's what I do. And chances are there are no repercussions to this blame. So, I know, Steven, we got Spider-Man Thursday night and Witcher 2 season 2 drops Thursday. So, of course, there's the Upstate Pulse 6th annual Christmas karaoke special. Don't forget that either.
Rob, why don't you talk more blank? is a question that I get asked frequently when we do this. And there's a reason I'm telling you this, so stick with me. I've had, in the past 4 days, I've had that asked of me twice. Last either Thursday or Friday, I was on Twitter and I saw a conversation going down between friend of the show, Savannah Lee, who you all know. She works for Fansided now. She'll be back joining us in the next couple of days. Had a conversation with Savannah Lee going with a random fan of the Georgia Bulldogs. And Savannah covers Georgia for Fansided. So I was reading back and forth because this Georgia fan asked Savannah why it was that, you know, in covering Georgia, Fansided and other outlets don't do more coverage of women's basketball. Said the Georgia women's basketball team is very good. Why don't you cover it more? Then yesterday afternoon, I was at the Greenville Swamp Rabbits hockey game. And I was walking down the concourse between intermissions, and a guy walks up and he said, "I'm sorry to bother you, Rob Brown." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I listened to the show." I think Greg was his name. So if you're listening, good to see you. Thanks for coming to say hi. I really do appreciate it. And as a side note, if you guys ever see me in public, please feel free to come say hi. Seriously. I love getting to meet you guys. If it wasn't for you, I don't have a job. So if you ever see me in public, come up and say hello. You will not bother me. You won't bother me. Anyway, he said, "I heard you talking."
Are you right?
Sure am. Dap it up.
I like that other show.
And by the way, you can dap it up or handshake. Take your pick, whichever you prefer. I don't care. I do both. So anyway, he said, "I heard you talking last week about F1. He said, "I heard you talking about, you know, whether Max Verstappen should wreck out Lewis Hamilton to guarantee himself a championship." He said, "That's the first F1 conversation I've heard." And I said, "Yes, because it's the first one I've done." And he said, "How come you don't do more F1? And I answer the question to both people the same way. It is because we talk about what metaphorically moves the needle, right? You wonder why college football gets more time on most sports talk stations around the South? It is because more often than not, when we branch out into the more obscure we get when we branch out, the less people listen. It's real simple. I hate it, but it's real simple. I get this asked of me by parents every football season. "Hey, how come you don't break down high school football more often?" And we do. You know, we do our segment during the regular season. We have Kevin Thomas and John Epps from Moving the Chains come on and break down week by week the high school football first segment. So how come you don't do more high school football? And my answer to those parents every year is because, and parents don't want to hear this, but it's true, because unless your kid's on the team, no one cares about it. It just is what it is, right? It just is what it is. You'll get a lot of people who say they do. You'll get a lot of people. I love high school football. I love it. But outside of play, unless you're in like Texas, where it's a way of life, where they build high school stadiums that are as big as some JUCO and Division II stadiums, people don't care about it. It's unfortunate but true. I told the Georgia guy who asked why we don't do more women's college basketball. And I said, well, over here in Greenville, we do. But it is because we have the number one ranked women's basketball team in the country right down the road. So we do women's college basketball, but it's focused on South Carolina because as long as that team is winning, the South Carolina fans care about it. But if Dawn Staley was to leave and go to the WNBA next year, and South Carolina was to come back down out of the stratospheric ascent they've been on the last few years, it would go back to blank. It would go back to nothing. The reason that I am telling you this, the reason that I found this kind of entertaining is because of the conversation we just had regarding soccer a minute ago. Told you that according to this survey that was done by Aspire Entertainment or whatever that company was called, they said soccer has now outpaced hockey as America's fourth favorite of the Big Five. And it is only a few percentage points behind eclipsing baseball as America's third favorite of the Big Five. Now, I don't know that it will ever eclipse American football or basketball. Frankly, I don't suspect that it will, or at least not in my lifetime. But it is on the ascent, and the reason why is very simple. It's all about exposure. We had the conversation about F1 last week, right? Talked about the Verstappen Hamilton. I told you a minute ago that Max Verstappen ended up winning the F1 season championship. I watched that race, as a matter of fact. Got up and watched that race on Sunday morning. And I got up and I watched that race because last week I started hearing about the F1 stuff and saw, and it really popped up as a topic. When I said, if you were Verstappen, would you wreck out Lewis Hamilton to guarantee yourself an F1 season championship and a $50+ million profit from doing so? And I thought it was just an interesting conversation about competitiveness via ethics in sports, via the desire to do whatever it takes to win, et cetera, et cetera. But the more I read into this, the more I was like, all right, well, looks like it's going to get kind of heated. Might have to watch those 58 laps, right? So then on Saturday, I watched the first couple of episodes of season 1 of the F1 documentary on Netflix. And by the end of it, I was like, all right, well, this is a thing I do now. I watch F1 racing now. This is a thing. It's all about exposure. Soccer, more than baseball, more than hockey, in the past couple of years, has found a way to gain exposure at every level in a way that intrigues people. And we are you can look around our community and see that, right? I look at the Greenville Triumph. They start up 3 seasons ago. What do? Back-to-back appearances in their league final. Runners up in the first one, won the second one, runners up in the third one, right? Now, when the Triumph are that good, and we had this conversation at the hockey game with some of the guys yesterday, I think the Greenville Triumph, and this is no disrespect to the Swamp Rabbits or the Drive or Furman or Wofford, anybody else that plays locally in the community, I don't think there has been a program in this area that has increased its branding and exposure quite as well as the Greenville Triumph. Lonzo, how many times do you see Triumph magnets on the back of cars driving around the area?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, all the time. They're everywhere. I see signs up on the side of the interstate with the Triumph on it. I see commercials on television advertising Triumph games. They have exposed themselves to the community in a way that is impressive. And the more you do that, you start to intrigue people one by the next, by the next, by the next. You start to intrigue people that then go, all right, I'll give it a shot. That's what I did with F1, right? Talked about it last week because of a blog post that drove me to watch a few episodes of the documentary on Netflix, that drove me to then tune in and watch an F1 race. I have never watched a full F1 race in my life. Never watched a full F1 race. Watched that one on Sunday. Got up at 8 a.m. to watch that one on Sunday. Was fantastic, right? It was fantastic. So the point is, it's all about exposure. It's all about putting yourself out there. And I don't think there is a sport in America that has done a better job of exposing itself. Wow, I'm going to rephrase this sentence. I don't think there is, because of the second half of it, I don't think there has been a sport that has done a better job of gaining consistent coverage towards the younger generations of sports fans than soccer has, right? Football is always going to be football because most of us who come in a football family, your fandom is passed down generation by generation. And it might change affiliation, allegiance to a team, but the passion is passed down, if not the team. Basketball, to some degree, is the same way. Your passion for the sport is passed down. I got mine from my Uncle Mike. My Uncle Mike, big basketball guy. When I was a kid, he passed that passion for basketball down to me. Now I love basketball, still do. If I was to have a kid, I suspect they'd grow up loving basketball too. Soccer is just beginning to gain its foothold in the country. And you're seeing it happen right here in Greenville. Clemson wins the national championship. The Greenville Triumph have 2 runner-up trophies and a championship trophy in just 3 years of existence. We have got clubs and travel clubs popping up all freaking around the upstate. I get a couple emails here and there every now and then going, hey, Rob, we got this club soccer team. I was wondering if you could come out and say hi or MC this for us or help us fundraise or yada, yada, yada. Baseball is doing a really terrible job of that. A really terrible job. I do not see, and it's been one of my chief complaints. Baseball has young stars, the Ronald Acuñas of the game, that they could be showing to the young generation and go, look, this guy's young and he's cool and he's fun and he's hip and he's good, right? The way that Ken Griffey Jr. did so organically back in the mid-90s. But they don't. They don't. They present themselves as, we are baseball. All sports is better than yours. And young people don't pick up on it. That is why if you go travel down to any park on a Saturday morning, what sport do you see kids playing? It ain't baseball anymore. There's some, but the sport the kids are playing is soccer now, because they have said, look at how young and cool and hip we are. They have made folk legends out of Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. When a guy like Ricardo Pepi strikes up and does something like he did against Mexico with his 2 goals a few months back, Ricardo Pepi finds his way onto the front page of ESPN. Here's his story, here's his bio, his background, and those feel more in tune with kids. It works. The reason we don't talk as much women's basketball is because you guys don't react to it, right? You guys don't get engaged. You guys don't get involved with us when we talk women's basketball. The reason we talk or don't talk college wrestling is because unless you're in Nebraska, none of y'all care. Name me any college wrestler right now. Just one. Name me one. Anybody text me the name of a college wrestler off the top of your head. There's not going to be any text coming in.
Gable Stevenson.
I'm talking right now today, like competing for a national championship next season.
Yeah, he's still in college.
Oh, he's still an amateur.
Yeah, he's still in college.
All right, name me one more. You only know him because he's coming to WWE. If he wasn't coming to WWE, you wouldn't know Gable Stevenson.
That might be true. I'm not an avid fan of college wrestling, but I love watching the NCAAs, and I love watching it in
right.
Olympics.
If you're flipping channels, you might stop and watch it. But if I asked you right now to host a segment on college wrestling in the next segment, could you do it?
In the next segment, no.
Yeah, we can prep for the end. But I'm saying right now, off the top of your head, you ask me to do an NFL segment right now with no prep, I can do it. College football, I can do it.
Same here.
NBA, I can do it. College basketball, I can do it. By the way, good win for the Gamecocks over Florida State. In a 16-point deficit, they come back to win late. I can talk college basketball right now. I can't talk college wrestling. I can talk women's college basketball, but it's going to be South Carolina and it's going to be UConn, right?
And by the way, to the texter earlier, high school wrestling is really big in this area.
Sure.
I don't know that you knew that or not, but it's pretty big in this area.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't move the needle for us, does it?
I've never really heard high school wrestling talked on the radio.
There's
before.
a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason. It doesn't move the needle. It doesn't move the needle. All right. Somebody, of course, we got the smart aleck comment of y'all dedicate a segment a week on scripted dance with middle-aged men in underwear, fake wrestling, and nothing on wrestling is real. Right. I agree with you. It's not real. It's scripted. But during the week, any given week, on Monday night, there's 24,000 to 27,000 people filling up a Coliseum to watch it. On Wednesday night, there's 27,000 to 30,000 people filling up a Coliseum to watch it. On Friday night, there's 27,000 people filling up 2 different Coliseums to watch it. On Saturdays, there are millions of people who tune into pay-per-views. When college wrestling gets those audiences, it will become a segment. When women's college basketball so the point that I'm making is this, and then I got to take a break because I just realized I'm super late. The point that I'm making is this, guys. If you want these sports to become more popular, if you want these sports to gain traction, if you want these sports talked about, then you are the change. You have to go out and expose them to people and expose people to them. You have to go out and talk about them. You have to call radio stations and talk about them, even if the host doesn't know about it. You have to make your voice known to pump these sports up, because until it moves the needle, ESPN's not putting it on their website. We're not putting it on the air. ESPN's not putting it on TV. Fox Sport isn't having Colin Cowherd break it down. And until they do, no new fans are coming. Soccer's done a better job of this than anybody else, and that's why those numbers are those numbers. Quick break. Back after this. Rob Alonzo, you at ESPN Upstate. Was that the 30 break? Okay.
It's my fault too.
No. That's on me.
No. It's I can tell you that we both would share blame in this. But yeah, I should have been paying attention. I was enjoying the conversation so much that I, forgot about, important things. I don't see a way around this. We're going to have to combine breaks. So,
Okay. That's fine.
Here in a moment, you're going to need to do QC Kinetics as soon as I fix a couple things.
Okay.
Pushing the wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer WetJet. With Swiffer WetJet, you start with a fresh padding.
Which way turns the thing down?
And when
Left.
you're done, you just toss the pad.
Correct.
Swiffer WetJet.
There you go.
A faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle.
Derek Brown just said that he wants to recruit a group of pro athletes that go around to regular people's jobs and boo them for performance. He's like imagine going to the grocery store and booing the guy bagging the groceries because he's slowing down the aisle. He said that's how we feel when fans boo us. I love it.
I know some cashiers that deserve that sort of thing. All right. Do QC after this. 5 seconds.
After this.
Yeah, in 5 seconds.
Talk to my friends at QC Kinetics. QC wants you to be able to go through your life, not just without pain, but without that fear of pain. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. When you want to go out for that hike, you want to walk up to the top of Paris Mountain or Caesar's Head and take in that beautiful view of the upstate, but you don't do it because you know the next morning when you wake up, your knees are going to kill you. And the reason why is because that connective tissue that used to regenerate itself over time, it wears down. It goes away. You start getting parts that ain't supposed to rub, and it creates irritation and inflammation. That creates that pain, and it changes the way that you enjoy your life. It changes the way you approach that life. It's the way that it changes the way you enjoy your time with your friends and family. And you don't want to have to deal with that. You don't want to lose that time with your friends and family because you go, oh, it's going to make my knees hurt. It's going to make my hips hurt, my back hurt. So call QC Kinetics at 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show and get that first consultation for free. They're going to tell you how they can restore that connective tissue without surgery, without drugs, without steroids, and without downtime. And when they do, you're going to find out just how much more enjoyable those activities you thought were gone can be. Go to QCkinetics.com to learn more about the science behind the non-surgical regenerative therapies. QCkinetics.com. It's our friends at QC Kinetics.
All right, we got about 3 minutes
Left or in the break?
in the
Or
break.
segment?
In the break.
Okay. So we're going to have, what, like a 4-minute segment now?
Yeah, I probably could have separated, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure about the math, and I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
eliminate a couple things. And Keanu Reeves was asked to come back for The Matrix. His reply was, "I'm dead." Which is,
Keanu's the GOAT.
true. His character was dead. But I came up with a theory, or we came up with a theory Saturday. When he went to the architect in the second film and he saw all his versions of Neo, how do we know which version it was that died?
Fair.
I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks. Or maybe we won't.
Or we won't, right?
Yeah. Maybe we will watch it and go, okay, what was that?
I'd say just
That's not in one game, because that would be some
Yes.
kind of record. That was in one game?
that is the third quarter of yesterday's Georgia Southern Carver game.
Oh,
99-9.
Mercy Rule should be
Yeah, like at some point,
yeah, see, I saw that as she went 9 for 99.
no. Yeah.
It's like, what?
That was the score
Okay. All right.
of
I
a
got you.
basketball game.
Thank you for the clarification, because I'm thinking, man, don't give her the ball anymore. So should we take it from the Twitter conversation that Diddy actually went to see West Side Story? Is he defending that?
I don't know. But if he is, he's the only person I know who did. Texas says, I get what you're saying about unpopular sports, just giving you a hard time. There's a reason why you have the best sports show in the state. There is a reason. It's Lonzo. That's the reason. Yeah, look, again, I want you to know, and I had this conversation with the lady friend a few days back. I am a sports fan. Off the top of my head, there's one sport that I don't go out of my way to watch, and it's lacrosse, and that's just because I don't get it. And I'm not saying I never will. I've never had the exposure to lacrosse that it clicks for me, right? And I should try again.
Was watching Sports Center Top 10 yesterday, I think it was, and this lacrosse guy did one of these behind his back and scored a goal. And my wife is like, "What sport is that?"
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is for
That's
lacrosse.
exactly the point. Exactly the point. If you're asking me, why don't you talk more women's college basketball? Why don't you cover Speak of the Devil? Look, there it comes on TV right there. If you ask me, why don't you talk more women's college basketball? If you ask me, why don't you talk college wrestling? If you ask me, why don't you talk any sport, fill in the blank? The answer is very simple, guys, because it doesn't move the needle. And at the end of the day, we have one job here: to gain as many listeners as we can. That's it. That's the job, to get our numbers up. And I will tell you that if you're talking women's college basketball, and by the way, how do we determine what subjects work and what don't? It's your engagement. We'll get ratings, books, and all that, but it's your engagement. If we talk about something and you guys light the text line up, that's probably something we're going to come back to. If we talk about something and we take 4, 5, 6 phone calls in a row about that topic, that's something we're going to come back to. And I guess that's ultimately what I'm saying is I think sports fans don't really understand the power that you guys have over what gets talked about, shown on TV, etc. And again, the English Premier League is the example of that, right? They tried it a couple of years back on NBC. It got some eyeballs. It picked up steam. It started being shown in different places. Now NBC is paying $1 gazillion a year to the Premier League to hold the rights to air their matches in the United States. And all of a sudden, with additions like that, with La Liga, by the way, I'll give you another example of that. We've had Ian Dark, arguably the most popular soccer play-by-play guy on planet Earth. We have Ian, little old ESPN Upstate in the Rob Brown Show.
Which you were extremely excited about.
Giddy. We've had Ian Dark on the show twice. You know how that came about? Because ESPN called us and said, hey, Ian Dark's available next Thursday. You want him on the show? AEW is growing like crazy right now. You want to know one of the reasons? You know who I got a call from this morning? I got a call from a young lady named Erin. She's head of PR at AEW. Head of PR at AEW. Called me, little old Rob Brown, and said, hey, next Wednesday or Thursday, I can get you the world's strongest athlete, Mark Henry. You want him on the show? They understand that the best way to get people is to put yourselves in front of those people and make a good first impression. Soccer's doing that, and it is now probably 3 years away, unless baseball changes. It is now probably 3 years away from overtaking baseball as America's third favorite sport out of the Big Five. There is reasoning behind it. If you want more of something, you have to speak out and empower that thing to get other people to join in with you. That's just how it works. Mob mentality, baby. Coming up on hour number 2 in the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update powered by The Score. Things continue to go bad for the Carolina Panthers as they lose to the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday, 29-21. Panthers dropped to 5-8. Cam Newton, 15 of 23, 178 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He does carry it 10 times for 47 yards and a score. P.J. Walker played at quarterback a little bit as well, 6 of 12, 75 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Panthers are 5-8, and they've got another tough challenge coming up next Sunday when they are going to match up against Buffalo, while the Falcons are 6-7, and they will play at San Francisco in a game coming up next Sunday. Falcons and 49ers are both still contending for a playoff spot. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show?
He is the murder hawk, Lance Archer, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate. That TNT kid, if you watch other companies around, we hear about belts that are mid-card belts or secondary belts.
Finally hit the sticky bomb on a brute yesterday where you shouldn't hit a sticky bomb on someone. And it bounced off the floor and hit him. I'm like, yes.
But a sticky bomb bounced?
Yes.
Was it one of the plasma ones?
They will bounce.
Really?
Yes.
I think in the first Halo, wherever they hit, that's where they stuck.
Yeah, these bounce. Maybe the floor was just really slippery, Rob, but it bounced. It didn't go well for him. That's all I'm saying. Any guess today?
Corey.
Okay.
Listen to ESPN Upstate. Morning
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. Great point on the text line. Then we jump into a different topic. I didn't think about this, and I'm glad you said it. Texter, well said. ESPN, MLS, and MLB both start around the same time in the spring. Any kind of labor stoppage, and MLS will overtake them. I will tell you right now, I suspect that if we drew a Venn diagram of soccer and baseball fans, I have to act it all out.
So, is that what a Venn?
diagram.
That's what a Venn diagram looks like. Physically.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Physically, that's what
Okay.
it looks like right there. The wedge in the middle where soccer and baseball have fans of both, probably not as wide as some other sports. That being said, those that are diehard baseball fans, right? If we take away a chunk of their season, and remember, we had an agent. We talked about a week and a half ago when the work stoppage started. We had an agent that told, who was it, Passan or Kirkjian or one of them, that he was telling his clients, I'll see you guys at Flag Day. I'll see you for Flag Day. That's in June. He said was the earliest he's optimistic baseball starts again. If there's no baseball on TV, yeah, Texter, I think you got a point. Baseball might bleed some viewers over to soccer, and MLS could overtake them. Remember, there's only, 7 percentage points difference in the number of fans who say they enjoy watching baseball, but not soccer. That could change. If that's the only thing that's on in the spring. We talk a lot of baseball on the show in the spring. When it's the only sport going, we talk a lot of baseball. If there is no baseball, but there is MLS, you better believe it's getting some coverage, especially with Charlotte here, right? Like with Charlotte FC an hour and a half north and with Atlanta United an hour and a half to the west. Better believe there's some coverage coming in. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP. ESPN is the number. We've talked the last couple of weeks about the transfer portal, and a lot of you guys are against the transfer portal. A lot of you guys have said that you have issues with the transfer portal, and that's all well and good. Everybody gets their opinion right. But I told you that you don't have to like the transfer portal. You do have to get over it. And the reason why is because of something that just happened for South Carolina. South Carolina just picked up a young linebacker by the name of Stone Blanton. Lonzo, that's a hell of a name. Stone Blanton.
We name thee Stone.
Stone Blanton is a 4-star linebacker who hails out of Madison Ridgeland Academy in Madison, Mississippi. Madison Ridgeland is kind of like IMG Academy down in Florida. It's a school that picks up guys that are 4 stars and 5 stars and cranks them out as great college football players, or prospects, I should say. Anyway, Stone Blanton had offers from a number of large schools. They included Stanford, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Louisville, Penn State, Oklahoma, and others. And Stone Blanton has elected to play football for the Gamecocks of South Carolina. He hard committed this morning. Now, one reason that Stone Blanton, who has a chance to be a starter in year 1, all right, kid can absolutely go. Stone Blanton checks in at 6'2", 220 with a real fast 40. Checks his 40 about 4.8. 73-inch wingspan. 222 off-season, plays about 217 to 219. Kid's got the chance to be good. He's a 4-star, according to 24/7. Stone Blanton signed with South Carolina. As far as we can tell, primarily for one reason. Because he asked every school, and there was, as far as we can tell, and this could turn out to be incorrect, though I have not seen reports of it anywhere, because South Carolina is going to let him play on the baseball team as well. Stone Blanton wants to be a two-sport athlete. Stone Blanton wants to not only play football, but he wants to play baseball too. And we know at least a couple of the schools that gave him an offer told him, no, you're going to play football here. You're going to be a football player. Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks told Stone Blanton, you absolutely can play baseball and football if you come here. And I'll be dadgum, the 4-star, highly recruited linebacker is now a Gamecock of South Carolina. Now, why do I bring that up? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you treat these kids and what they want to accomplish as people instead of resources for the success of the school, right? I think the old school attitude is that you look at players as resources for the growth and benefit of the school, and don't look at the school as a resource for the player. The new generation of coaches, like I think Shane Beamer, are beginning to look at, okay, how do we utilize the resources of the school to enrich and better the students? How do we help the students accomplish what they want to accomplish in order to reach their goals, in order to reach their objectives? If this kid's objective was to play college football and play college baseball, which clearly it was, Shane Beamer just happened to be the first guy that went, okay, fine by me. Long as you're out there in the fall, I don't care if you're out there in the spring. Have at young man and let him go. And now, this guy that Brent Venables was recruiting to Oklahoma, this guy, or at least somebody was recruiting to Oklahoma. Don't know if he was a recruit before or after Venables got there. But this guy that James Franklin was recruiting to Penn State. This guy that the entire state of Mississippi was recruiting. Now, all of a sudden, this dude's a Gamecock. Because Shane Beamer made one decision. Yeah, you can play baseball. One thing you are going to see, I think, is that coaches, and I heard somebody, I read somebody on Twitter earlier say, this new generation is going to benefit younger coaches. And I think that's probably in large degree true. But we have watched Nick Saban play this game. How's Saban recruiting looking every year? Guys cranking out top 3 classes like it's easy, right? We are seeing even older coaches who, instead of looking at recruiting as how can I get kids that benefit the school, they are now starting to look at it as how can I sell the kids on the school and how it will benefit them. I got a text earlier this morning from our buddy Red over at the Greer Golf Club. He said, I'm not sure if y'all talk about recruiting, but South Carolina just got a 4-star linebacker and baseball player. I bring this up because he's supposedly committed to South Carolina over a number of schools because Carolina is going to allow him to play baseball and football. If you have any insight as to what goes into a program or coach's decision-making process when they're considering letting someone play 2 sports, I would love to hear it. You would think it would be a no-brainer, especially with a highly rated athlete like this, but apparently either Leach or Kiffin or Fisher or others, because Texas A&M was in the mix too, did not want him to play baseball. I just cannot get my head around why he would not let a kid play both sports if he's that good of an athlete, but I've seen it happen a lot, and I can't figure it out. And I texted back Red because some football coaches still view these kids as resources for their success, they're being the coaches here, and not as people who have their own goals, objectives, and lives that they want to live. And if Jimbo, who, by the way, I don't know, and the reason I said I don't know if this is true of every school, because when Jimbo was down at Florida State, do you know who was a 2-way player at Florida State? 2013 national championship winner Jameis Winston. He played football and baseball. But I also wonder if maybe Jimbo let that happen because of how good Jameis was, right? Jameis was so good, a generational quarterback at FSU, that Jimbo could not tell him no. That being said, this appears to me to be, and I could be wrong about this, but based on the reporting I've read and some of the recruiting sites I've followed about this kid, based on what I've read, the impression I'm getting is two-sport athlete, wanted to play football and baseball, and a number of coaches said, no, you come here, you're a football player, right? Because they view this kid as a resource for the school. Whereas it looks like Shane Beamer looked and said, yeah, he'll be a resource to the football team, but the only way he's going to be a resource to the football team is if we make the school a resource for him. Now, I don't know if this kid's got aspirations to go play in the Major League Baseball or the NFL. I don't know if he's got aspirations to go pro in both, and Bo Jackson it, Deion Sanders it. I don't know what his aspirations are. But I know one of them is to play college football and college baseball. And now he's got the opportunity at South Carolina because Beamer looked and said, you know what? We can use South Carolina to make your goals a reality. And he went, give me that dotted line to sign on. Let me grab that paper. Give me the Gamecock hat, and I'm signed up. I'm good to go. The next generation of coaches that reach the Sweeney, Saban, Riley, Day level of coaching are going to be coaches that take the new mentality. How can we make the school a resource for the kid as opposed to make the kid a resource for the school?
What would you say to people who would say this is an act of desperation, that the Gamecocks need anybody, take anybody and give them just about anything to get them on the team?
I would say South Carolina's recruiting ranking just bumped up from 18 to 15 with one signing. You can call it desperation if you want, but they got a top 15 class, right? I would say I looked at, again, I mentioned Jameis Winston a minute ago, two-sport athlete at Florida State. Was it desperation from Jimbo Fisher? Because he won a national championship there. I don't think it's desperation at all. I think it's a good decision, right? I guarantee you're reading this. There was a Clemson fan who said that. Guarantee it. And there's other SEC. I bet you Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Louisville and Penn State and Oklahoma and Texas A&M and other schools recruiting this kid were probably looking at this going, oh, South Carolina was so desperate to get the guy. Was that it? Or did they just go, hey, man, what are you looking for in a school? I'm looking to play football and baseball. Cool, you can do that here. Sweet. Thanks. Hand me that scholarship and I'll sign it. A recruiting rank bumped up like 3 spots on this signing by adding a 4-star linebacker. A position they need, by the way. They filled a need. They upped the class. And all they had to do was let the kid play baseball instead of saying, nope, you're mine 365.
I'm sure it also helps that historically South Carolina's baseball team's been pretty good.
Yeah. He gave this kid the opportunity to do both. He said, well, let the baseball team's a recruiting pitch for this guy now, right? The baseball team is a resource for Shane Beamer to get this kid, Stone Blanton, hell of a name. The baseball team in South Carolina became a resource for Shane Beamer to sign Stone Blanton. He elected to utilize the resource to enhance the college career of the kid, and the kid signed. The next generation of coaches will be the coaches that drop the what can the kid do for the school mentality and adopt the what can the school do for the kid so that they are spurred on to do more for the school mentality. You want to talk about transfer, guys? Do you think Stone Blanton is going to want to transfer away from the coach that was the first coach to say, yeah, you can absolutely come here and live out your dreams? That's how you earn loyalty. That's how you stop kids from transferring. You use the resources of the school to enhance their career, and they will be more loyal than if you just go show up on campus and you're mine for 4 years. That's not how it works, man. Not anymore. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the helm. When we come back here in just a minute, Corey Diaz of the Greenville News covers the Gamecocks athletic department. We'll talk to him, see if he's got any insight on that. talk a little bit about the women's college program and what Shane Beamer is trying to accomplish. 15 practices stand between the Gamecocks and a border war with the Tar Heels of North Carolina. What are the Gamecocks trying to accomplish in those 15 practices? We'll talk to Corey Diaz when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Your ESPN Upstate Sports Center updates powered by the Score. Thanks for the Carolina Panthers as they lose to the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday, 29-21. Panthers dropped to 5-8. Cam Newton, 18 yards, no touchdowns, one. He does carry 10 times for 47. PJ Walker played a quarter. 6 of 12, 75 yards.
Dig-a-doo-doo-doo.
Reception.
Dig-a-doo-doo-doo-doo. Dig-a-doo-doo-doo.
Buffalo, while the Falcons are 6-7, and they will play at San Francisco.
We just head back into Metallica. Okay, good talk.
Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss.
I need a number.
Why the Score app is one of North
Oh, that's right.
popular sports apps. With your ES
Stop looking at me. What are you doing?
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Maybe I was just checking out the sweet T-shirt. Maybe that's what I was doing.
It is a sweet T-shirt.
Trying to figure out which one I would,
I got to check and see if they fixed the production room.
If not, you can do what you've been doing with things. You can just send them to me and I can put them in. I probably will be here a little bit later all week because of getting ready for Saturday and the fact that I'm way behind today. So. Being doorman and stuff.
Power chewing dog.
That's my dog. Bully Make? Do you guarantee she can't rip the? She's a goat. She can tear anything up. Wow, you even have a jingle. No, Steven, he didn't have to give me that number. Everybody knows Jenny's number. I am now struck by the similarities of Billy Don't Lose That Number and not Billy Don't Lose That Number. It's the Steely Dan song. Ricky Don't Lose That Number. And
Ricky Don't Lose.
Because when you were just doing that, that's what I thought it was at first. And then it's like,
I was going Tommy Two Tony.
yeah, now I'm going to have to put those songs back to back and see if they're similar as I think.
Do you really want to go through another year with that awful joint pain? Don't do it. Resolve right now to get yourself moving again for 2022. Hey, it's Charlie. Time to call QC Kinetics, non-surgical regenerative treatments for joint pain. We're talking lasting results using natural biologics. No surgery, no pain, no steroids, and no downtime. This is really exciting stuff. Regenerative restorative treatments that actually encourage your body to heal itself using highly concentrated natural biologics. Patients are raving about it. For hip pain relief, knee pain relief, shoulder and back pain relief, don't let them.
Cool. I thought I maybe wrote the wrong number down, which happens on occasion. How are you today? I can't read my own writing. I really can't. 864-448-3772.
864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772.
WWE is coming home to Greenville with Monday Night Raw, January 3rd at Bon Secours Wellness Arena.
Yeah, I have legitimately called the wrong number before, and they're like, "Who? Sorry." Although some of it could be, Rob's fault, but it's not. All right, hang on.
So I need Roy to tell me how many tickets we get, because I cannot tell you how many people want to come to Raw with me. That wrestling that nobody likes, I've got probably 17 people who have asked me to go with me now.
We usually get a good allotment, but this was
Yeah.
pre-COVID, so and under a different system. And when you actually got physical tickets in envelopes,
Yeah.
do we still get
Which
that?
I did for TSO.
Oh,
So
so
maybe.
it's possible. Okay. I have seen like rolls of tickets
Yeah.
before.
And post the hockey story I told you earlier. Roshan's absolutely getting one of the tickets. He's absolutely coming with us.
Well, I requested an extra one just in case.
Okay.
So
I put in for 6 personal and 2 for client. For the
yeah,
small
I
one.
went 5. So
Also, Roy, big TSO fan. My dude was absolutely banging head to TSO. It was incredible.
still haven't got to go yet, but some year.
Dude,
I-
it was the most rock and roll show I've ever seen.
really.
And I've seen some rock and roll shows. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. I am Rob Brown. Zoe at the helmet. To the phone lines we go to welcome in a young man who joins us every single Monday to talk South Carolina athletics with us. He is a beat reporter for the Greenville News based in Columbia, South Carolina, where he covers said Gamecocks athletic department. He is a young man known as Corey Diaz. What up, CD? How you doing, fella?
Rob, Lonzo, what's going on, brother?
Just another day in paradise, buddy. Living up the dream. Hey, let me jump into this, and we're gonna get to football bowl practices in a minute. We're gonna get to some basketball stuff here in just a minute. But before we do, I have 2 questions about a recruit that South Carolina gained this morning, and I want to see what you know. Number 1. Is Stone Blanton not the best professional wrestler name you have ever heard in your life? A. And B, it looks like Shane Beamer letting this kid play football and baseball may have been one of, if not the biggest selling point that added the 4-star to the class and bumped him up about 3 spots in the 24/7 rankings. What do you know, if anything, about the Stone Blanton situation?
Oh man, okay. So that first part of this question, I don't know, man. I'm not very well clued in on like wrestling up today. I grew up in the, Andre the Giant and Coco Beware and Brutus the Barber Beefcake era. I mean, some of those names back then, man, you just can't beat. I mean, Papa Shango was another one that I thought was an awesome wrestling name and an awesome, little gimmick that, they had back in the day like that. But hey, no, I mean, great name though. I mean, Stone Blanton's great. And then too, second part of your question there, I do know that, just from a personal standpoint, it was important for him to at least be able to try once he got on a college campus, while he was making the decision wherever it was going to be, to be able to try to play both, football and baseball once he got on campus. And look, he was deciding, against, really, if you think about it, some really good, solid football programs, as well as some, some outstanding baseball programs. I mean, Mississippi State was in the running for his commitment and obviously, hopefully his ultimate national letter of intent in a couple of days. And obviously when you think about baseball in Starkville, as of right now, there's no college baseball program better than that one. And so for Shane to go in, man, to Mississippi and get a 4-star linebacker to commit to South Carolina to lead the state of Mississippi that's got 2 great college baseball programs in it, as well as some really ascending football programs as well. I mean, I don't know if you can kind of undersell just how big of a recruiting win this was for Shane and Clayton White, who coaches the linebackers here, as well as the defensive coordinator position. So, I mean, this was a huge, huge get, on the recruiting trail with, Jayshawn Barham, committing a couple of days ago. I mean, you really can't knock what Shane and his staff has done, over the weekend and here on Monday, leading up to signing day here in a couple of days. It's been a good week or so on the recruiting trail for South Carolina.
Talk to me a little bit about where they stand in recruiting right now. I saw 24/7 earlier. I think has them ranked 15th overall in terms of class ranking. This pickup was a big one. There's been a couple other ones, and Shane finds himself in an interesting spot because had a couple of guys that have transferred out, left the programs. Quandre Wright's decided to make his move to the NFL, so unavailable for the bowl game. But this, I've told a couple of people, to me, Corey, this is the most important recruiting class of Shane Beamer's career, because what happens on the field next year, and I'm not saying he needs to go 11-1 or compete for the East. I need to see improvement. And this recruiting class sets the bar for year number 3, which in most programs is the year that it's decided if you get an extension or not. Talk to me just a little bit about briefly where the class stands right now, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think, right now, if you're a recruiting site, recruiting composite, guy that, or girl, that follows that, pretty religiously, I think right now, man, I think the 247 sports recruiting site has South Carolina, I believe, with 20 verbals right now, and has them ranked 12th in the nation, which I do believe is 6th in the SEC. Don't 100% quote me on that. They could still be 7th. I know they were 7th coming into the weekend before the Barham commitment in the league. So, but look, it's been since 2007. When Spurrier was kind of in the height of his run, here in Columbia, they have not had a class ranked better than 14th nationally. So you're talking about Shane and his staff putting something together, that hasn't been done since the peak of this football program. And so if they can look, obviously verbal commitments are great, right? But none of that matters until you get, the signature on the dotted line on that national letter of intent. It's faxed in, whether it's, December 15th here in a couple of days, or whether it's, come February, at what we remember to be National Signing Day. So, again, verbal commitments are great, but you got to get these kids to sign and actually officially join your class and be a part of the football program. But, to your point though, Rob, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, this class is huge for the continued development and direction of the South Carolina football program under Shane. And you have to think about it this way too. With the transfer portal being what it is now, being a major storyline and a major variable within the sport of college football, how these coaches piece together their classes isn't what we remember 6 or 7 or even 8 years ago. These coaches have to kind of put on their thinking cap and prediction cap as well on who we might potentially would lose, whether it be via transfer portal, what have you, because you could find yourself in situations where you got holes, you got depth problems and holes on your roster because you didn't properly anticipate, a kid leaving your program before, graduation or declaring early for the NFL draft. So, recruiting is so different these days. And, you have to almost anticipate just about anything, you just never really know. I mean, saw that Calzada from A&M entered the transfer portal this morning. And I thought that was a kid that probably would never leave where he was at, so it's like, it's things like that. They kind of have to be aware and prepared for anything to happen on any given day. And so, right now with them sitting 12th in the nation per 247 and having the class that they have right now with 20 verbals, they've got more room to add more kids, which 20 might be where they try to end on Wednesday during this early signing period. So that leaves them some room to get some late guys in February. I know Shane and his staff have to be really happy with where they sit right now.
We're talking with Corey Diaz. He is a beat reporter for the Greenville News covering the Gamecocks of South Carolina. All right, let's look. We got the border war coming up. South Carolina, North Carolina going to be right up the road in Charlotte at BOA. 15 practices allowed for the team as they get prepared for the bowl game. And, I've been asked, Corey, in the past that, what's the precedent for a team in a position like South Carolina right now? Is it utilizing the time more to prep for the actual bowl game in question? Or do they look ahead? Do they utilize these effectively as 15 more practices to get ready for next season? Shane Beamer's in an interesting spot with that opportunity. Any insight on kind of how South Carolina is approaching these 15 practices or will?
Yeah, sure. Shameless plug, Tom. I wrote a story last week looking at Shane's bowl game prep philosophy, just kind of some things that he's picked up from, just his previous spots, as well as, what he kind of learned from his, Hall of Fame dad and Frank as well. And, they're really going into this game with North Carolina on the 30th and the amount of practices that they have in order to get ready for it. They're almost treating it like another spring, which I do think is the kind of the right approach here, because there's a lot of guys, on this roster that are, whether they're true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, or maybe even some redshirt sophomores, look, and these are guys that still have an extra year of eligibility due to the pandemic. And so, this is a great opportunity for the coaching staff to spend an extra amount of time, with those younger guys to get them to develop, because again, like we were just talking with, the 2022 recruiting class for South Carolina, the younger kids that they have on campus and having this football program right now are just as vital, to that continued development and growth of this program under Shane as the guys that he's going to have coming in that'll be true freshmen, come fall. So you got to get those guys ready. They're going to spend an ample amount of time, with guys that have been, key contributors for this program on the scout team this football season. Kids that may have dressed, especially on home game Saturdays when you can dress, close to 100 kids, and guys that didn't see the field. You want to get those guys some extra reps during practice to get them to develop. And now they'll spend some time, on North Carolina. You kind of got to get ready for the game too. Now they'll get a normal game week, the Thursday before, starting on the 23rd. They'll break and then they'll get to Charlotte Christmas night. And then they'll wake up the next morning and have their first practice in Charlotte. And so they'll get a normal game week, normal amount of time for prep for North Carolina in preparation of the Dukes Mayo Bowl Thursday morning. But, they will spend some time on the Tar Heels while they're still in Columbia. They start practice this afternoon. We'll be out there at 3:00 with them, catching the first 20, 25 minutes or so of practice. And, they'll practice for the next 9 days straight before they break for Christmas, and they'll get back, like I said, in Charlotte, and then they'll get back into their normal way of preparation for a game. So it's kind of split down the middle in a way, but there will be some there'll be some time for this coaching staff to really develop some of the younger kids so they can continue to make sure that they have the necessary and quality depth, to compete in the SEC, not only next year, but even the year after that as well.
Corey Diaz, beat reporter for the Greenville News, covering the Gamecocks of South Carolina. A couple more, and then we'll turn you loose. Corey, I want to start with men's basketball. What a showing. They were up in North Carolina taking on Florida State this weekend. Florida State at 1 point, 6.5 minutes left to play in the first half. FSU up 16 with all the momentum. I saw Frank Martin's face turn red, and I thought one of two things is going to happen. It's about to get a lot better, a lot worse. They hold FSU scoreless for the final 6.5 of the first half. FSU tries to pull away in the second half. A lot of resolve shown by the Gamecocks, and they come back to win that thing late in the game. What a heck of a win for Frank Martin's squad, a guy that, according to a lot of Carolina fans, may be on a bit of a hot seat entering this season. That was a heck of a win for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, it was a situation where you end up losing that game yesterday. Again, whether it would have been in dramatic fashion in which that almost took place, or you still end up losing the game by double digits. A loss is a loss in this particular hypothetical situation. You lose that game, and you're talking about a situation where you're 100% against the wall with your back. In terms of trying to find a way to get into the NCAA tournament at the end of the year. And you really don't have what potentially could be a marquee non-conference win. We usually don't see, Power 5, Power 6 conference teams get into the NCAA tournament at the end of the year if they don't have at least one, key non-conference win. You have to have it, and with this game being on a neutral floor, obviously from an RPI and a net ranking standpoint, it doesn't quite look as good if South Carolina had gone to Tallahassee and knocked off Florida State in their own building. But it potentially could be a good non-conference win for Frank and his bunch. I will be interested to see kind of how Florida State just responds, especially once they get into conference play, if they can maybe get some signature wins themselves within conference, whether it be, a win over North Carolina or Duke or North Carolina State or, whomever it may be for them. And truth be told, Rob, they're going to need Florida State to do that for them. They're going to need a little bit of help right now. The ACC has not been good in non-conference play. And so they're probably going to need a little bit of help from Florida State, but so who knows? I mean, maybe they do, and they get some help, and, we look up come, mid-March, and this ends up being a really good win for Frank and his bunch. And you really have to look at just the emergence of freshman Devin Carter. I mean, this kid's been just lights out for Frank the last couple of weeks. It's he's a guy that Frank really liked coming into the year, but wasn't necessarily sure what his role on this team was going to be. And it's really turned into a sixth man type role, one of the first guys off the bench for this team. And in just about every game he's been in that role and come off the bench, he's really kind of provided a spark, and he's found a way to create for himself and create for his teammates. And so guys like him being able to continue to develop is going to be huge as we get a little closer here to conference play at the end of the month. And if Frank and this group's going to, maybe get some key wins in conference play as well, guys like, Devin Carter and Jacoby Wright, they're going to have to play big roles in that.
Talking to Corey Diaz of the Greenville News. Flip it over one more, and then we'll let you go, Corey. Good win for the women's team as well, who now has victories over the number 5, the number 9, the number 2, and the number 8 team in the country. They've got number 15 Duke coming up on the 15th. Then they got number 3 Stanford on the 21st as well. And none of them have really even been all that close, to be honest with you. I think the closest anybody's come was NC State, and the first game was inside of 9. Everybody else has been blown out by worse until Maryland, who only lost by 7. I heard a radio dude yesterday say, I don't think the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks are losing a game unless they lose players to injury. And I got to tell you, more often than not, when I hear somebody say something like that, Corey, I just kind of freeze frame that moment so I can bring them to the Cold Takes Exposed Twitter account later. But I think that dude might be right. This team is dominating everybody. They have played 4 of the best teams in the country and wiped them all so far.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment as well. look, South Carolina is without its top 2 point guards. Destiny Henderson is still day to day. She dressed yesterday. We all at the media table were kind of talking pregame, and she had a little bit of a bounce in her step, and she looked like she might be ready to go. But ultimately, as the game got going, Dawn and her staff decided to not run her out there and to give her a little more time. We might can see her for this Duke game coming up, but. Obviously Raven Johnson suffered a season-ending knee injury very early on this year. So, Letitia Amir, she's done it all in her career. She has the ability to, bring the ball up the floor and be a distributor. But that's just, again, it's just not her natural position. So South Carolina's just, they're just kind of going with who they got, and they're just kind of rolling with the punches. And, right now it hasn't affected them. It hasn't hurt them. Even yesterday, I think there were 6.5 minutes to go in the game and Maryland was up. I didn't see, any panic. I didn't see, them flinch in any sort of way. They really clamped down defensively in the last 6.5 minutes of that game. And I think they only allowed 2 more baskets, I think, in the last 6 minutes of that game. So, but I will say this, Rob, I covered the UConn game earlier. I covered the North Carolina State game earlier this year. I saw some of the Oregon game. I'll say this. I think of everyone that South Carolina has seen so far this year, I think that Maryland team is the best team that they've seen. And I would not be surprised if that Terrapin team is playing in the Final Four in Minneapolis with South Carolina, in April. I think they're that good. They did some things defensively that I thought that South Carolina knew was coming, but they still weren't able to really kind of find their own pace and find their own rhythm. I think the matchup 2-3 zone that was really sunk into by Maryland really caused some problems. And they had some athletes and they had some kids that can shoot the ball as well, and that potentially could be a recipe for someone to try to knock off Dawn and her group. But it's going to take a near perfect game for someone to beat this South Carolina team. And they're going to have to, and it's going to have to be a situation as well where, again, if unfortunately, if another player were to go down, or if some player, whether it's a Zia Cook or an Aaliyah Boston or whomever, if they're just having one of those nights where they couldn't hit, the broad side of a barn, it's going to take a near perfect performance for an opponent to beat the South Carolina team this year.
Corey Diaz is a beat reporter for the Greenville News, covers the Gamecocks athletic department over in Columbia. Corey, my dog, always good to talk to you, Bubba. We will see you in a week, my guy.
Sounds good, brother. Y'all take care. We'll talk to y'all soon.
There you go. Follow Corey on Twitter at Corey Diaz, CORYDIAZ_TGN on Twitter. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
Especially if it comes from Scottell's Jewelers, a local tradition for over 25 years. And as a thank you, the entire store is now 25% off. Scottell's provides a large selection with the lowest prices guaranteed, with free financing and payments as low as $49 a month, backed by a lifetime warranty. Details at scottellsjewelers.com or in Spartanburg on East Blackstock Road. Scottell her, you love her. With Scottell's Jewelers.
There's nothing worse than coming home from a cold day to find out that your heater isn't working. When this happens, you need an HVAC company you can trust. A company like Priority Heating and Air. Their HVAC specialists will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. So keep your family or business warm this winter and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1847 or online at PriorityHeatingandAirHVAC.com.
Your HVAC problem is our priority. Priority Heating and Air.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials: a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards method. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Granger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done. For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Granger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Okay, so Hook is really Taz's son?
Like in real life?
Just
He looks good, by the way.
yeah, but
You heard you could save big when you bundle home and auto with Progressive, so you went online to check it out. But then you saw a link for a survey about which type of breed you are. And now you're on question 17, barely scratching the surface of your bread identity. You always thought of yourself as a brioche, but are you actually more of a pumpernickel?
He is. He is Taz's son. Why aren't they? Have they played that angle? Have they said
no, but Austin Gunn just accused AEW of nepotism. And people were taking it serious. There's no way he's being serious about it.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Winning trophy hosts. Trophy winning hosts. Named the best sports talk show in South Carolina. The Star winning Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Thanks again to Corey Diaz. Follow him on Twitter at CORYDIAZ_TGN is in the Greenville News. All right, real quick segment here because we're way off the clock. Coming up in the next segment of the show, we talked to you a little bit about the F1. A decision was made late in the race, and I'm going to do it's a question about sports through the eyes of F1. It's not an F1 story. It's just something that happened, and I want to get your thoughts on whether or not it was the right decision. Plus, coming up at the beginning of the 2:00 hour, things continue to go downhill for the Urban Meyer regime down in Jacksonville this weekend. Once again, no difference. And the Carolina collapse. Once again, they are at the house, lost to a not-so-good Atlanta Falcons team and looked real bad in the process. Is it time to end the Matt Rule experience? We're going to talk about that to open up the next hour as well. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo is at the helm. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate.
Yes, Steven, that was ugly. Hopefully that wasn't your first NFL game, because that will make you go, yeah, this ain't for me. When I think of that game, I will think of the poor handoff from when Cam got stepped on and he's laying there on his back, just hitting his helmet like, I guess I'm done.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
For your South Pole.
Yeah, they're pretty graphic in all these. You just gotta, you really gotta listen to the words.
Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299. All on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phone, less money, straight talk wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed.
Want to hear how I almost got off the naughty list this year? I helped Santa save gazillions by having him download Capital One Shopping to his computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. You can download it too and save a bunch. You don't even need a Capital One card, and it's free. So why didn't I get off the naughty list? Turns out Santa's a stick with the naughty words. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupon vary.
Sexter says, wow, imagine that Clemson wins another national championship and you spend more time talking Gamecock transfers and bowl games. Where's SC? Anyway, blah, blah, blah. You get the point of the text. Lonzo, take me back to hour number one. Do you remember what did I open the show with? Do you remember by chance? You can check your notes. If
No. Right up to the screen so you can see the first thing, Clemson soccer team. Yeah. There's that.
I'll be shocked to open the show with it. The most important segment of the show, and that's what I'll be done.
And then went on to talk about the popularity of soccer and how it's about to pass up baseball.
Correct.
So,
and by the way, gave credit to Clemson Soccer for helping doing so in this market because they are opening the eyes of the market.
Rob, it's impossible. Well, it's not impossible to listen to every minute of the show. I mean, but you can go back and check out the podcast, which is already up, by the way.
ESPNUpstate.com/podcast.
There you go. And you can hear it for yourself.
Yeah. He said, first, I never said he didn't open the show with it, only that the discussion was, quote, flat in comparison to Gamecock all sports coverage. He asked me why I don't have here's why I have not had a Clemson guy on yet, like as a weekly segment, because I haven't found one who wants to do it weekly, right? Corey has volunteered to do this weekly. But when you hear weekly segments with guys, ordinarily there's some sort of compensation involved in that, right? Like very rarely do you get somebody who goes, yeah, I will give you 20 minutes of my week every single week to do it. I'm working on it, and hopefully I will find a guy. I'm just unable to do so now.
No, as bad as this show is, why does this dude still listen every day?
No, don't go anywhere. We want you to stay. I need you, listener. I need you. I'm working on it. But again, when I find the guy for Clemson that'll step in and do it weekly, we'll have him on.
Stop kowtowing.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking to you.
You're talking to me.
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Don't bow down.
If I can find the guy, I'll do it.
Hey,
I'd be happy to.
We're number one for a reason.
Anyway, when we come back, 60 straight minutes of Clemson Soccer National Championship, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking that game down starts with no, and I was dead serious. Congratulations. That's awesome. Third national championship in football. Something to be celebrated there. Back after this for hour 3, the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
I don't believe I've ever used the word kowtowing before, and now I need to look it up to see exactly what it is. You know, I mean, I know what it means, but I don't know where it came from. Love the origin thing, trying to figure stuff out.
PJ Walker played at quarterback a little bit as well. 6 of 12, 75 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Panthers are 5-8, and they've got another tough challenge coming up next Sunday.
Harley in the first break.
Falcons are 6-7, and they will play at San Francisco in a game coming up next Sunday. Falcons and 49ers are both still contending for a playoff spot. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show?
I got no issue with a conspiracy theorist on this one. Oh, do we have the music? Can we get the music?
Did the NBA cancel Chris Paul, knowing that Kawhi Leonard was unavailable? Did the NBA force Chris Paul to sit out Game 2, only to play the Clippers a chance without their superstar? Only time will tell. For now, we'll leave that decision up to you. Coming up next on the Rob Brown Show.
Wow, kowtowing is actually spelled with a K. And it's one word. What a good day. Never knew that.
Learned something new today.
Derived from the Chinese word kowtow, which literally means knock the head as a verb. Kowtow has a sense of sucking up or flattering. Maybe you're wondering when it would be appropriate to kowtow. When your boss is in the room, of course. Came into English in the early 19th century. And it's not negative in its original language.
Texas says, Rob, you have to forgive Clemson fans. The Upstate went years with only the one Clemson homer station and constant Clemson kiss-ups with that. They refused to admit that, or with host, that it refused to admit their homers. Look, I get it, right? If you only tune in for, but what do we decide? We have an average spent listening time of like 20 minutes, right? 20 to 23 minutes. Is the average amount of time spent listening for any one listener. So if you tune in, you're probably getting a segment. Like you're getting one segment. Most people aren't listening to a full 3 hours. And if it just happens to be that you take your life, here's why, and this is why I don't get upset about it. If that listener happens to only tune in for the 1 o'clock hour, then he's going to get a lot of South Carolina stuff because we do Corey. And then usually our 1 o'clock hour is our college football segment, and we kind of kick back and forth. So that makes sense, right? Third hour is for the people who think that Lonzo and I spend all week every show talking wrestling because we usually have our wrestling stuff in the third hour or our nerd stuff in the third hour. It is what it is. I'm not mad about it. I just want to make sure we're fair about it, right? There's a difference. All right, a couple of things that I wanted to bring up today. Have you been following the story with the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because at this point, I really hope that Urban Meyer leaves. I just hope he leaves, right? Because things are not good there.
Unless I looked at, I read a quote wrong. I think leakers are cowards or something like that. Maybe I saw that.
So there was a report that came out before the weekend that Urban Meyer had gotten to a screaming match with one of his starting wide receivers named Marvin Jones. There was another report that came out that Urban Meyer called his assistant coaches losers. on Saturday as they prep for Sunday's game. Said got into a yelling match with a wide receiver and called his assistant coaches losers. Meyer on Sunday after the game was over and it went really bad, denied both of those reports and said that anyone leaking information. Here, I'll read you the quote before I skew your point with mine. Herb said after the 20-0 loss at Tennessee on Sunday, the fourth shutout defeat in franchise history and the first since a Week 5 loss to Seattle in 2009, quote, "What's the answer when things are going badly? Start leaking information or some nonsense? No, that's nonsense. That's garbage. I've been very blessed. I've not really dealt with that. I've not dealt with, well, did you hear what he said? She said, what? No. Let's improve on offense and get our quarterback in a position to be successful. That's our focus. What someone's brother said or someone said, that will occupy very little of my time. And if there is a source, that source is unemployed. I mean, within seconds, if there's some source that's doing that," end quote. Now, here's what's interesting about that. Since then, by the way, do you know where the first report of this little locker room meltdown came from? The NFL Network, Lonzo. Not a Jacksonville beat reporter, right? Not some Jaguars blogger trying to crank up hit points. The NFL Network reported these two stories. Now, that does not make them more or less likely to be true. But source of information is important. And Lonzo, I would be skeptical to believe that the NFL Network, which is a profit-driving machine for them, would allow this report to go out if there wasn't some level of credibility to it.
See, NFL Network actually run by the NFL and owned by the NFL?
It's a partnership, but they have some level of editorial control over what goes on.
I just believe they have more access than a lot of other, places may have.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, this is not some Jaguars beat reporter that was just trying to drive people to his MySpace page. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, a team is losing. So there's bad blood and there's reports of unease among the coaching staff and players. Do we expect harmony with a team that's playing badly?
There is a difference between there is discontent amongst the ranks and there is a head coach screaming at his wide receiver and calling his assistant coach losers, right? Like there can be a difference. If Zoe and I have a bagged show, we might go into the office over there and go, "Hey man, I'm not happy with the show today. Why not?" "Well, you did this, I did this, you did this. I don't like it."
I just want to point out hypothetical because
we've never had a bad show.
It's never happened. Yes.
I'll let you know what happens when we have a bad show when we do.
Hey,
sorry.
Did you know
if we do?
We do have a trophy.
We do have a trophy.
We do.
There's a different situation between Lonzo and I stepping into the room and going, "Hey man, show didn't go great. I noticed this little constructive criticism. Can we do this differently?" Versus, "Hey man, show sucked. And so do you, loser."
I've been in those situations before. It's not a fun atmosphere to work in.
Yeah, correct. By the way, Texter says, Trevor Lawrence should tell Urban he's the leaker to see if Myers has the guts to trade him since he said they'd be unemployed. No. Anyway.
I think that implies that did the leaking. Because you can't I guess you can just up and cut a player, but still.
The NFL Network reported that the confrontation between Herb and his starting wide receiver, Marvin Jones, and the conflict between him and his coaches where he called them losers, the NFL Network reported that. And since then, ESPN says that, and here's the two words you don't want to hear if you're Herb, Lonzo, league sources have now confirmed the story.
I do have a question for you though. losers. Was he wrong?
I mean, technically,
I mean,
everybody in that locker room is a loser right now.
Including himself. Should he have said it? No. But
I think we can likely all agree that there is a difference between calling someone a loser versus pointing out that they are losing, right? There's a difference. I can point out someone is losing without calling them a loser with the connotation that that word has in the way that it was described.
if you are defending him, I'm just saying that could be his defense.
Oh, I'm sure that would be a defense.
And so the winners that we all know to be.
I think there's probably a little more room to this if it wasn't reported. And now, I don't want to use the word verified, but supported by the NFL Network and ESPN that he had a conference. This was verified, supported by ESPN and the NFL Net, that this was a verbal confrontation, and that, by the way, Marvin Jones was sent home by the coach and had to be persuaded to return to the team facility after the confrontation.
All right, I feel like I'm defending again, but
it's reasonable in any job, just like I also don't think it's acceptable in any job for the boss to verbally confront and harass an employee.
Agreed.
Right? Like, I think it's a two-sided incident here.
But what I'm saying,
is not there was an employee-employer confrontation in which an employee was sent home. The story here is the Jaguars locker room is in shambles, and the single most important year of Trevor Lawrence's development is going really badly because they hired a college football coach with an ego and an inability to deal with failure in a reasonable and efficient way to improve the team, has now spun the locker room into a wall and has no idea how the hell to fix it.
I would like to go back a year or so when we were talking about both of them going there, and I said, and I'm sure some other people may have said this, that in the end, Trevor Lawrence gets a pass. However bad he is, all the blame will go on Urban Meyer. If
Yes. However,
and he also,
so your defense of Herb is commendable.
and I'm not defending him. I'm just
You kinda are.
I'm throwing out another side. I don't want to be both of us trying to destroy him. I'm just
But the job of a head coach is to create an environment that a team can thrive in and also guide them to said thriving. Herb is not doing any
So
of
you come into a team full of losers, been losing for years.
that Herb assembled. Nope. All this coaching staff is Urban Myers. These are not
I'm
all
not-
coaches that have run around. Herb put this cabinet together.
I'm not just
himself.
talking about stuff. I'm talking about the players, because it takes a couple of years to get rid of some of the elements that are causing you to lose and bring in some other players. I just think it's funny that this guy's going to be gone after a year. And that's what everyone believes. That they're one of them who are
abundantly clear. I am absolutely rooting for Urban Meyer to fail. I don't like him, and I don't think he's a good person. All right? I don't like him. I think he's a liar.
And there's some videos out there that might prove that you're right. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, no. It's not a question of, is Rob right? That is a statement of fact. Rob is right.
But bad people can still coach football pretty well.
I don't disagree. It doesn't mean I'm not going to root against him. But I don't need to be rooting against Urban Meyer to look and go, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy, right? Remember, Peyton Manning had a crappy rookie season too, set the rookie record for
so did Troy.
Many great quarterbacks had crappy rookie years. I don't know if Trevor's a guy or not.
And when people had bad seasons, well, college coach, they just can't do that. And then he turned it around. He was given the opportunity that it doesn't look like Urban Meyer's going to be.
Right. I don't disagree with that, except for I can't find – I'm not saying it didn't happen. I wasn't there. I was like 5 when Jimmy Johnson took over the Cowboys, so I don't know for a fact. But I doubt you had stories like this. And it was a different day and age in football, right? This was
Rob,
football.
I don't know if you noticed this, but Dallas fans are pretty vocal. I don't know if you noticed this, and I don't recall, but I'm getting older, so I may have forgotten. But I don't recall the kind of outcry that you're hearing for Urban Meyer to be gone.
Right,
I don't recall that for Jimmy Johnson.
The difference is nobody likes Urban because he's a bad person. Jimmy Johnson didn't come across as a bad guy. It just seemed like up front he was a bad coach. And I agree these things take time, but I think there's a difference between, okay, it's a slow start for a coach, we'll give him a couple of years to get it turned around, versus, well, he's cussing out receivers, calling his assistant coaches losers. The team sucks. It's getting worse, by the way, right? It's getting worse. And the problem with Matt Rule is not that he's a bad coach. It's that the team's getting worse week by week, not better, right? So where's the point where you go, nope. I can't go too much further downhill before I expect you to get better. We are 80% done with the NFL season, and the Jaguars are arguably worse now than they were when the season started. And not only there is no improvement there, but it's not like there's no improvement, but the team is like building its core and its foundation. You have a rotting core at the center of this team because of Urban Meyer. Yeah, and by the way, for the record, I enjoy the suffering of Jacksonville fans, right? There's a part of me that wants Urban to stay because I enjoy the suffering of Jaguars fans.
Are you just going to put your all that aside? How much you do not like Jacksonville, how much you do not like Urban Meyer. If you had to fire one coach right now and you absolutely had to fire one, which one are you firing? Matt Rule or Urban Meyer?
Herb. And that's Herb hate aside, genuinely.
And I would fire Matt Rule. And here's the reason why. Because you talk about disarray. Urban Meyer, this is his first season. The trajectory was never supposed to be anything other than what it is right now. And if we didn't hear a word out of them about, all the problems in the locker room and stuff, and you looked at the record and went, yeah, that's and this is kind of what you expected. Or were you one of the disillusional Clemson fans? And I don't blame them, because Trevor Lawrence was that good, who actually thought he was going to the NFL and going to win the first season. And they went. I just, they're both not good, but Jacksonville has a better upward trajectory right now, even in this season, than Carolina seems to have. So if I had to find Meyer, not yet.
So here's you base that, and I get it, but you based on that on if we hadn't heard the stuff coming out of the locker room.
No, I'm basing on play of team.
I know you are, but that's not the only thing that revolves around being a head coach, right? That's like saying, if you ignore the part where he was stealing money from the company, he was a good employee. Right, but that's kind of the big part.
Yeah,
that's kind of the thing.
It's just skimming. Everyone does that,
That's kind of, ooh, nope. So
that was done.
At the checks, okay? You're right. If we hadn't heard those things, but we have heard those things, that's kind of the big thing, right? With Matt Rule, I can look at the Panthers, and there doesn't appear to be too much drama. There's a little bit. There's rumblings that some of the players are unhappy with Matt Rule's offense, which I totally get. But I can point to the Panthers and go, this is on Tepper. This is on Fitterer. They built a crap roster before Rule was there. They have added to the crap roster after Rule is there. Once they clear McCaffrey's contract off the books, once they move some of these terrible offensive linemen off the books, I'll give them a shot to build a better roster, because this is not entirely on Matt Rule. And granted, the same situation is true in Jacksonville. Shad Khan and the GM down in Jacksonville built this roster that Herb then added to this offseason. But Matt Rule doesn't have screaming matches calling his assistant coaches losers. That's the difference.
That we're aware of, because there are no leaks.
True, but it is what it is. We now know about those things, right? We now know about those things. It's one of those things where the genie's out. Well, you weren't supposed to look through my phone to see if I was cheating. Right, well, I did. Now I know you're cheating. And yeah, maybe I shouldn't have looked through the phone, but now I know you slept with that other person, so screw you, you're out, right? Like, how the information that was obtained, sure, not ideal. Maybe it's even a little underhanded, but the information has been obtained, and this is not a jury, so Herb doesn't just to go, disregard that leak.
So if he finds out and he finds them, do you blame him? But he has said he would do that.
No, it's his team.
Right.
No, it's his team. I'd be absolutely fine with that.
And if you and you're out there, stuff, aren't you hurting a future possibility for a job, especially if you're a coach? Because you're saying, hey, if you hire me to come and coach at your team and I disagree with you, I'm going to go to the media and tell them.
I got to tell you, I think there's a difference between I'm leaking because I disagree and I'm leaking because the boss is running players out of the locker room and if I'm an assistant coach and Herb put me up in front of the team and called me a loser, that ain't a leak. That's telling what happened. That's calling a dirty dude out in front, right? That's putting Herb as Herb on display for who Herb is. And I'd absolutely be fine with a dude like that because he stood up for himself against a guy who's being a bully, if this is true. Texas says Rob Brown is the largest irrational Jacksonville hater I have ever heard. Oh, no. It's not irrational. I live there. It's a terrible place. No one else should. That's not irrational. It's perfectly rational. I lived it, and it was awful. Quick break. My name is Rob. He's Lonzo. This is ESPN Upstate, y'all. Harley Davidson of Greenville. So I got my first motorcycle about 7-8 years ago, and I got it for myself as a little bit of a Christmas present. I thought, I'd like to learn to ride. My dad rode. I got a bunch of friends that ride. I'd like to learn how to ride a motorcycle. I really would. And so I decided to buy myself one, but I needed to learn how to ride. And I talked about it on a radio show I did down there. And I had the Harley Davidson shop down in Destin call me and say, hey, man, we got the Riders Academy. If you want to truly learn how to ride, come do it. And I went through the Harley Davidson Riders Academy. And in 3 days, I went from guy who had never sat on a motorcycle to guy who's got a pretty good handle on this. Did a little practice, kept practicing, got better. And then I decided, yeah, I'm getting one of these. And I did. And it has been one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. I like riding my motorcycle more than I like a good majority of my family members. And you will too. Go to Harley Davidson of Greenville. And it does not matter what level of riding experience you have. If you are somebody who has never ridden before and want to learn how to, that's awesome. If you are a veteran rider and are just looking for the perfect ride for you, they got it. And right now, the 2020 model year-end event is underway, meaning finding the Harley of your dreams has never been easier, and there's never been a better time for it. If you're looking for a little Sportster to rip around downtown and save on gas money, they got you. If you're like me, like a big hog to ride up through the hills, they got you. If you're looking for a touring model to go on those long rides, Harley-Davidson of Greenville has the bike of your dreams, and the 2021s are at a great deal right now. Plus, the largest pre-owned inventory in the country or in the upstate means that you are finding your bike right now with Harley-Davidson of Greenville. Go to 30 Chrome Drive in Greenville, 30 Chrome Drive, or check them out online at upstateharley.com. It's Harley-Davidson of Greenville.
Continue to go bad for the Carolina Panthers as they lose to the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday, 29-21. Panthers drop to 5-8. Cam Newton, 15 of 23, 178 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He does carry it 10 times for 47 yards and a score. PJ Walker played at quarterback a little bit as well, 6 of 12, 75 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Panthers are 5-8, and they've got another tough challenge coming up next Sunday when they are going to match up against Buffalo, while the Falcons are 6-7, and they will play at San Francisco in a game coming up next Sunday. Falcons and 49ers are both still contending for a playoff spot. Download the Score app today, lightning fast sports alerts, so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update,
So Rich Eisen on his show had all of his guys break out their resumes to determine if they were losers or not. After it. I don't know. Can you tell by looking at a resume about that? I guess.
Regenerative treatment for joint pain. We're talking lasting results using natural biologics. No surgeries, no pain meds, no steroids, and no downtime. This is really exciting stuff. Regenerative restorative treatments that actually encourage your body to heal itself using highly concentrated natural biologics. Patients are raving about it. For hip pain relief, knee pain relief, shoulder and back pain relief, don't let them keep steroids, and don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Get a free second opinion at QC Kinetics. Do it now and imagine life in 2022 without pain. Call the section over at QC. 448-3772. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. Some holiday parties.
Diddy's wrong. You can't compare steak and ice cream because one is a meal and the other is a dessert. You can't compare that. Rob Brown, angry typer.
The problem is
You ever hurt your fingers by hitting? Yeah, but you got guitarist
I got
fingers.
guitar
Never
calluses,
mind.
exactly.
Never mind. You got them finger picking fingers.
Where do I score some tickets? Just go to Upstate Lights. We should all go together.
The Upstate Holiday Light Show is going on now at Greenville Pickens Speedway.
Animals and the carnival rides are back. This month on the 11th. The Dwarf Breck once said, and nothing. On 3 people days just sitting in one place, watching, listening. A cafe in New York,
Stone Blanton's name even looks cool.
It's a cool
In
name.
type.
It's a
I
cool
mean,
name.
It's like
It really
underneath the
does.
big C. It's like, yeah,
really
it looks
does.
pretty cool. Sorry, Clemson Dexter. I apologize for mentioning again. So Lawrence Fishburne is going to be in the MacGruber franchise.
I saw the commercial for it the other day.
Yeah, but is Charles Barkley going to be in it? That's the question.
And by the way, if you're recently fired up your grill, don't worry. eBay Motors has grills too. eBay Motors. That's right.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Right now at Wendy's, see why everyone is raving about their brand new fries. Natural cut, skin on with a hint of sea salt and guaranteed to be hot and crispy or they'll replace them. You know, the way fries should be. Try Wendy's guaranteed hot and crispy fries today at participating U.S. Wendy's.
He's not messing around. Real
Texture says, ESPN, I lived in Jacksonville 3 years. Rob speaks the truth, and in Springfield to boot, and I am still alive. We decided to move. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at what happened to you, Texter. I'm laughing at the out of nowhere abruptness of this text. We decided to move today. An active shooter was in my yard as I was doing yard work.
Did you continue doing your yard work or did you go in the house?
Yeah, because it's Jacksonville. It's just a thing that happens.
It's
Tuesday.
You just continue pruning the. It's like what?
Yeah. ESPN, is Jacksonville the same place you lost a girlfriend, a dog, and a job all in a few days? I'm glad to see our promos have hit in the part where they're starting to bury into people's minds. Yes. Yes, it is. But I want you to know, I thought Jacksonville sucked way before that happened. I was in Jacksonville 3 months before that happened, and 3 months in, I'm like, I have made a grave mistake. And you know what the recreation is on Sunday when you live in Jacksonville? You've had a long, hard day of being stuck in Jacksonville. You got Jacksonville all over you. You just want to get rid of the Jacksonville. You know what the relaxation on a Sunday is? You have to watch the Jaguars. Jacksonville sucks. At least I get a the Jags. Never mind. They suck too. Yeah, it's not ideal.
I'm still stuck on the active shooter in the front yard. I just
while doing yard work. Let's see. Rob, Fred Durst is not amused with your tone. Listen, as a Limp Bizkit fan, I would like to point out that Jacksonville created Fred Durst. I think my point has been proven. Thank you, Texter.
What's wrong with Limp Bizkit?
Nothing. I like Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, me too.
But like,
how could you not like Limp Bizkit?
They're one of those things I like quietly and to the side, you know?
I'm unashamed of my fandom.
Texter says, seems to me Jacksonville has been historically bad. Urban historically is a winner wherever he goes. The only thing different with Jax is that maybe Meyer is rightfully cracking heads and changing culture. They're his coaches. They're his coaches. He's the one that brought him there. You're right.
No, it's not.
The whole staff?
It's possible.
The
Yeah.
whole staff. Then that's NFL Network, that's two. And relatively reputable. Relatively reputable, I'd say.
Well, one may have just like pulled it from the other, but
Maybe,
yeah.
but the NFL is not letting that story run on NFL Network if there's not some element of truth to it, or at least something to it. Look, cracking jobs and changing cultures. All right, cool. I guess it's not really how. It's more of a college mentality, but okay. Okay.
So what you're saying is you can't do that in the NFL? I don't get that college
team if you do.
because what I understand the Belichick way is fairly strict and there's no fun there and stuff for a lot of people.
I mean, Tom Brady said it was fine. Good enough for Brady. You know,
He was awful happy to get out of there.
if it's good enough for baby goat Mac Jones,
And everybody's happy to get out of there. What I'm saying is there are strict atmospheres in some places. Everyone runs their thing their own way. They don't have to.
I don't disagree with that.
They don't have to go this. They don't have to conform and go, okay, this is.
Disagree, but I worked for a radio station that used to pay you checks 2 and 3 and 4 weeks late. You know why? Because at that point, I had no experience and no other option. If somebody offered me a job right now that paid decent money, but the checks were 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 weeks late, and occasionally you found money was missing from them, I wouldn't work there because everybody runs their thing the own way. But some people's ways are bad and wrong.
Like how we threw money in there when we were talking about, attitudes and things.
Bill was able to muster an outstanding 183 total yards, or 184 total yards. The third time this season has failed to surpass 200. Running back James Robinson had 4 yards on 6 carries.
Wait a minute.
4 interceptions.
Who the heck is James Robinson?
James Robinson is the guy that Trevor Lawrence last week said, hey, he's our best player. Maybe he should get more than 5 carries a game. Herb's wrong on this one.
Well,
that's a paraphrase.
So then he did that.
No, he got 6 carries behind an offensive line.
Yeah, but you're missing the point.
No, you're saying the extra. The point is, all of this is bad. It's just a bad look.
So you're saying the entirety of the thing is bad.
I'm saying good luck.
Well, that would also imply that, Trevor Lawrence is bad, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we said that a minute ago.
Entirety. Okay. All right.
This is the most important developmental year of his career. He's wallowing in urbanness.
Just trying to help that one guy out who only hears parts of the, it's clarification.
Texter said Jacksonville also created Leonard Skinnard. So FTFU. I will not. All right. I guess you're a Jacksonville guy, and it's cool that you're defending the motherland.
Skinnard!
Woo! Freebird! You know why? You know what? Listen, I like Skinnard, but I'll never forgive Skinnard for Freebird. Not the song, but for the drunk guy at every one of my band shows that begins screaming Freebird at me after the first song.
Do you guys do Freebird?
No!
Okay. I was curious. As a cover band, you could.
No. Only, you know what we do instead when somebody yells Skinnard? We play the first 2 bars of Freebird, and then we play a live version of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up and Rickroll them live.
That's awesome.
After we take their money for Freebird. Every time. All right, 844-GSP, ESPN, Texas 71 through S7. When we come back, we talk about, and this may shock you, not the Jacksonville Jaguars. By the way, I bring them up for 2 reasons. 1, yes, I'm going to take every opportunity to crack on Urban Meyer I can. And 2, because I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is the future of the NFL. I do know he's not moving any closer to that goal being in that quagmire. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, we got to get some more soccer talk in here because Clemson are your national champions. Congratulations to the Tiger Men's. Plus, Max Verstappen and Lewis gave us a heck of a race. I got a question about the competitiveness of sports that I'll hit when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
You almost made me have to double my beds.
Oh, on her being gone at the end of the year?
No, when a host goes too long and you have to grab the same music to put in to crossfade. No, I said bed.
Related roster crisis. Bulls currently have 10 players in COVID protocols. Minimum requirement of players for a game is 8. USA Gymnastics and the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee settled lawsuits related to the sexual assault case against former Olympic team doctor Larry Nassar for $380 million. Cardinals can clinch their first playoff spot since 2015 with a win over the Rams on Monday Night Football tonight as Week 14 wraps up. 8 Eastern, ESPN TV, ABC, and ESPN Plus. Arizona's up 2 on LA in the NFC West, is up a half game on Green Bay for the top overall seed in the NFC. Alabama leads the Associated Press All-America team with three first-teamers, including Heisman Trophy winner quarterback Bryce Young.
From the Ingles Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, FM Spartanburg, ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you failed to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call Optima Tax Relief before the IRS finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm, specialized in helping individuals, families, and businesses get right with the IRS. They're experts in the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, a powerful new program that can make resolving tax issues easier. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, Optima's award-winning team has helped thousands of people protect their paychecks, bank accounts, homes, and businesses by putting their tax problems to rest, resolving over $1 billion in tax debts for their clients. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-706-7944. 800-706-7944. 800-706-7944.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Money's tight for everyone right now. It's been a tough year, and you sure don't need to get hit with a big unexpected bill. Like, what if your car breaks down right now? How are you paying the bill? If it's your transmission, that's over $3,000. Your engine, up to $6,000. Even minor repairs of your air conditioning, you can wallet hard.
You ever see a sponsored ad and you really want to click on it because it looks really cool, but you know what happens if you do?
You're going to see that product for the rest of your life.
Come here real quick. This is a cool thing.
Yeah, I actually would buy one of those.
Yeah, I mean that's and it comes in different colors. I mean, does it fit every
You know what that
every
is?
sink size? I don't know.
That goes in that list of things that you're like, how did I not think of that?
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
I
I
not think of
mean,
that? It was right there in front of me the whole time. I always have to wring out my sponge, put my sponge down. There he goes. He's back. He's back.
worried that these hats would throw me off, and I think it helps.
I'll say it. Reset your balance.
Actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of pay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers
Wondering how many times it's going to take before there's a hole eroded in that wall.
If you manage to put a plastic bottle through drywall, it either means you are a monster or that was some really pathetic
Well,
drywall.
I'm not throwing it really hard. I'm talking about erosion over time, kind of like a drip of water going through rock. I
Fair
mean,
enough. I suspect it would take a great quantity of time, no?
well, hopefully I'm around to find out. And so I'll bring a drywall patch in. I'll take care of that.
That's that optimistic, positive Lonzo we all love.
Well, I'm just thinking, if I did that like 20 something years ago, and we could really test the theory, and there might or might not be a hole there. Although over the last 2 decades, the shape of plastic bottles have changed, and the weight of the bottles, so that would factor in too. I'm sure they've gotten lighter. Why? No. A live action Mega Man film is in the works at Netflix.
Who's playing Mega Man?
I don't know. I could see Seamus,
Chris
whatever
Pratt.
her name
It's
is.
Chris Pratt.
It could be.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. This is ESPN. I just said that. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Real quick, kind of interesting this morning for speaking of you netheads, do a little soccer here. The UEFA Champions League did its draw of 16 earlier today, and it kind of was very interesting because they did the initial draw, but then they had to redraw. They set some matchups, including one that was going to see us with Cristiano Ronaldo and Leo Messi going head-to-head after the initial draw, as Manchester United was paired with Paris Saint-Germain, which is the home clubs of those two teams respectively. But that matchup is now off the table. UEFA confirmed that a clerical error occurred where Manchester United were mistakenly omitted as potential opponents for Atletico Madrid in the original draw. So they had to redraw that. And now Atletico will face Manchester United. They had been matched up against Bayern Munich in the voided draw. The German champs will now face Salzburg in their opening match. We got Salzburg, Bayern Munich, Sporting CP versus Manchester, Benfica versus Ajax, Chelsea versus Lille, Atletico Madrid versus Manchester United, Villarreal versus Juventus, Inter versus Liverpool, and Paris Saint-Germain versus Real Madrid after the initial draw. But what's really interesting about this is there have been complaints. Real Madrid is now complaining and saying that UEFA is lying. It was a chaotic few hours when they tried to figure out what happened, and they ended up voiding the draw. We now have seen Real Madrid, who in the first draw were paired with Benfica, which should have been a fairly easy game on paper for the side. Now they face Paris Saint-Germain and arguably the greatest soccer player on the planet, Lionel Messi. What is easily, probably, I'll say easily, the best, the most competitive opening round game. The Spanish club were insistent that their tie with Benfica should stand and said that they believe UEFA did not get an attractive draw, right? So the way it works, they put 16 balls in a cup, and based on the way that the Champions League has played out so far, certain teams were eligible to play certain other teams to go in different pods, etc. And so they believe, they are claiming that UEFA had a bad draw that produced a handful of mismatches that they did not like, so they made up a reason. A club source told ESPN, quote, "It is a lie that it was a software error. It is a human error beginning with the second pairing. Our pairing with Benfica was legal," basically claiming corruption, which I'll tell you, we talked earlier in the show about why it is that soccer has, according to one study, overtaken hockey as America's fourth favorite sport in the Big Five and is rapidly ascending to overtake baseball potentially in the next half decade or so. One of the things that I think has turned off Americans in recent years is there is clear, obvious, and evident corruption at the top levels of the sport. FIFA has had numerous officials arrested due to corruption and blackmail and bribery and embezzlement over the years. And when you have that much corruption at the top, it becomes unattractive, right? So you got all the hard work going into building soccer at the grassroots levels, right? I've said for years, whether it's politics or it's music or it's art, the best way to succeed is to succeed at a grassroots level and let that interest grow, right? That's why you see, I hear all the time, why are presidential candidates, like, why do they go to small towns and shake hands in diners and whatnot? Because once you get the group of people that go to that small diner interested, they become campaign workers for you for free because they believe in you, because you met them and you gave them that firsthand experience. Why is it that, for instance, Charlotte FC is reaching down to Greenville, South Carolina, and offering up interviews and talking to us about getting stuff on the radio and whatnot? Because they know if they can get a foothold in what is a growing soccer community here, then they get guys like me to talk about Charlotte FC, and then folks like you that listen to the show go, "Hey, Rod makes this stuff sounds exciting. Makes this stuff sound like I want to be a part of it." And you'll jump in, and now you're buying tickets and merch, right? It's grassroots effectiveness. Soccer's doing that better than baseball. Let me ask you a question. Lonzo, you drive up and down interstates routinely to get to and from work and other places. Quick question. What's the last advertisement you saw for Major League Baseball? As a fringe sports fan who can be talked into watching more, what's the last advertisement you saw for Major League Baseball?
You're talking about on driving?
In general.
I don't.
I'll say you're driving, but just in general. When's the last
I was going
advertisement?
to say driving. I don't recall ever seeing any.
Yeah. But what's the last, just in general, on TV, on the internet, wherever? When's the last place that you saw an advertisement for Major League Baseball?
Only on a sports station.
Yeah. Places that there's already people that probably like baseball, right? They advertise to the people that are already fans. Whereas I tune into NBC during whatever episode of whatever reality show the girlfriend's watching. And what do you get? This Saturday live, the Premier League on NBC. And they show a picture with Cristiano Ronaldo with his shirt off. And now the girlfriend's like, yeah, I'll watch that game with you. I'll watch that Manchester United game with you. Right? I go to bars around the upstate. And you know what I see? I see soccer flags hanging. There's a pizza joint downtown that I love to go to. Nice little pizza joint right in the middle of downtown. I walk in. What do I see? Greenville Triumph stuff hanging from the rafters. A jersey and stickers and whatnot. They're doing an outstanding job of bringing their product in front of the eyeballs of younger, newer fans that go, oh, let me see what that's all about. When I came up here to audition for the gig back in February of 2019, was that it? 19? Yeah, been here 2 years. Wow. When I came up here to audition for the gig in February of 2019, 16 years ago, I came up and I went to I stayed in an Airbnb right off of Stone and Main, downtown. Got to the Airbnb, flew in on, I think, Friday night, like a late Friday afternoon. Got my rental car, flew into GSP, took my rental car down to the Airbnb to drop the bags off, walked inside. And on the refrigerator of the Airbnb was a Greenville Triumph magnet complete with their opening year schedule, their 2019 schedule. And I went, huh. Or 2020, whatever the upcoming schedule is. I went, huh. This is interesting. What are the Greenville Triumph? And I looked them up. And I went to their website. I found out all about them. And I was hooked before I got the job. That's how you grow your sport. That's what soccer's doing. That baseball's not doing. That hockey is not doing. I think the NFL doesn't have to do it, right? Because that's passed down. I think even the NBA's fallen into this trap a little bit, right? But the NBA, at least when I tune in, ABC's advertising the Christmas lineup on other ABC shows that aren't sports shows. ESPN's advertising their basketball shows on non-basketball shows. They at least try. Baseball has failed, hockey has failed, and soccer is overclimbing both of them. Quick break, we wrap up the show with a brief Twitter when we come back on ESPN Upstate. The Upstate's favorite holiday tradition is the Upstate Light Show, ladies and gentlemen, and it is going on right now at the Greenville Pickens Speedway. 32 million lights are lighting up the night sky above the speedway, and this is your opportunity to see an incredible light show, the best light show in the Upstate. You get a chance to drive your car around the Greenville Pickens Speedway, take as many laps as you want to do to watch the 30-minute dancing light show set to the music of your favorite holiday classics. And once you're done watching the show once or twice or three times, whatever you want to do when you got that hot cocoa in the thermos, they have got the farm and exotic animal petting zoo. They have got small carnival rides for the kids. They've got concessions. It is an incredible Christmas event, and you don't want to miss it. Go to upstatelights.com, buy your tickets and the Fast Pass so that you can breeze right on through the line and enjoy the Upstate's favorite holiday tradition, the Upstate Light Show.
Installation. Call 855-74544 or visit spectrum.com/business today. You need a new roof or think you do? My name is Paul Campbell, and I've been fixing and of your roof or possible storm damage. Call me, and I will personally come out and check your roof and give you a price. At 864-346-3121 or 346-3121. I'm me at Rupert. This feature is sponsored by Indeed. If your seasonal hiring needs are covered, then you don't need Indeed. Indeed is the smart hiring platform that delivers 4 times more hires than all other sites combined, according to Hire ASAP. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
When others keep your fries as an out, you're left with a cold, salty fry. Don't forget, guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or will replace.
Must be what it's like to have a parrot on your shoulder.
Oh, your hat. I
Yeah.
thought you were going to tell me something someone did or said.
No. We'll not come out of the restroom talking about parrots. There's probably some sort of weird thing that goes there. No, right? I'm looking forward to that movie also.
I am too. I the first Kingsman movie I thought was a genuinely good movie. The second one wasn't as good, but I still thought it was very entertaining. And by the way, Julianne Moore was one of the most terrifying bad guys ever. Her dumping that dude into that meat grinder,
Yeah, it
was
was.
incredible.
It's like they have to put one part into the movie that doesn't ever really fit, and it's always with Etsy and a girl.
With what?
With Etsy and a girl.
Oh yeah.
And it's they're just doing it just to make people go, oh. I didn't like what they did in part 2, him having to do that for his job.
I found it interesting I think the plot was, or the point of it was less for that moment or shock and more,
Well, he was-
had to test the boundaries of his job versus his life.
Right. And
I've been there. Not that way.
I was going to say there's a test and then there's that. I mean, that's just like, you want me to do what?
But again, they dumped a dude headfirst into a meat grinder. Shock value is kind of what they were going for to some degree,
And you got to see Elton John do martial arts.
which was so good.
Yes.
That was so, he was incredible. He was the best part of that movie.
He was. I was going to say, you take that out of the movie, and I don't know.
But now you just want to get that part was only in that part to be self-serving, and it was awesome.
All right, time for Twitter trending topics. Just a brief time. The first thing is trending is Rex Ryan.
So Rex Ryan decided to just go full fourth wall breaking self-action.
I saw.
Talking about Aaron Rodgers, who said that after yet again dominate. You know what? The Bears are 3-31 against Aaron Rodgers. Is that even a rivalry anymore?
No, it's not.
Right?
It's not.
So Aaron Rodgers once again dominates the Bears. But after the game, he said, my toe's actually kind of bugging me worse. He's had some mild turf toe or whatever it is. He said, my toe is actually hurting worse after this win than it has after some tougher games. Rex Ryan on First Take or Get Up or whatever.
It was Get Up. It was
Get Up this morning was talking about it. And he said, you know me, I'm kind of a foot expert myself. Ryan Clark just got up and left the table because of the "Are you serious?" moment. And I'll give him this. I've been making fun of Rex Ryan's foot fetish for years, but I won't anymore because dude just leaned into the curb. And there is nothing I respect more, Zoe, than a guy realizing there is a crack on him and just embracing it for what it is. Good on Rex. That was hilarious. Addressed it on his show later in the day. And he was like, yeah, I didn't see that one coming. He's like, Rex got me, but that's Rex. That's what Rex does. It was if you haven't seen it, it's trending on Twitter for a reason. It's absolutely hilarious. That's it for us. We're out. Back tomorrow to try it all over again and do it even better. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. We are the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Show of the Year, the Rob Brown Show, right here on ESPN Upstate. Later, brother.
ESPN Upstate, WIRD Greenville, WORD Spartanburg, WFBC FM HD.
What's up, man?
Yeah, you weren't kidding. This is Sports Center.
That might have been the most rock and roll show I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding.
Christine Lisi breaking